Welcome back, guys, to the Supercoach Swordplay podcast. You're on with me, Janath. I'm joined today by my great mate, Supercoach with DR. Season 4, Episode 2. Today is going to be an absolute blockbuster of an episode. We're going to go through our round reviews. We're going to talk all the key talking points ahead of, well, for the rest of the competition, the first price changes. And we've got a jam-packed mailbag with, I'll tell you what, a lot of very good questions. Without further ado, you might notice that we have an absentee today, Spills. His missus has clearly taken over. No, I'm just joking, Spills. But yeah, Spills is an apology for today, so it'll just be us two going about swordplay today. Without further ado, DR, how are you, mate? How is life going? And yeah, how's Supercoach after that?
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much, brother. Great to be chatting with you again. That's a great thing about getting into Supercoach season. We get together every Tuesday night and have a bit of a chin wag. Spilsy isn't here. He decided to go with his new girlfriend over his brothers here. We're like family to him. You know, I could be selfish, Janath, and be in there sitting next to my wife and crazy kids at the moment. But no, I'm putting myself out as you are for the Supercoach community. So a couple of the hosts of this podcast are really giving back to the community. And one of the hosts is pretty selfish. Let's be honest, mate. But, no, Spilsy, hope you are having a great night. Look, personally, brother, I'm a week away from holidays, under a week now. So I'm crawling through to the finish line. So looking forward to that. And Supercoach-wise, not too bad. Certainly not like the start that I had last year, mate. So very quick round review. And then I've got a quick one for Spills as well. 2024 for the round scores. So maybe a little bit above par, you may say. 22,613 for the season rank. Got a couple of heroes here. You know who they're going to be. Dogga and Butters. I'll talk about these blokes in the stock market, and I've already raved about them in my round review, but kudos to you two again. Absolutely smashed it out of the park. And I tell you what, hurting non-owners at the moment, mate. Then you had Bont, who really played through some injury. I'm not really concerned with him going forward, but definitely a hero because he was sore during this game. You could see that he was labouring, but the great man that he is, captain of the club, kept on going and scored an absolute ripping goal at the end of the game, which was just a nice little bonus there, mate. Sheeslov popped him in there as a hero because he was the only defender that did anything for me this week. It's shambles down there, Janath. For many coaches at the moment, we'll talk about this a little bit later in the podcast, but tell you what, mate, in struggle town with my defensive line. Quickly in the midfield, the three rookies, I had them all on field, Roberts, McCurch, and lucky. Sanders. Magnificent, mate. I'm stuck with Sammy Berry, but he was the emergency, and I've got to thank Causa, H, and Jono for that. We're having a bit of a chat in that members group, mate, and they said, make sure that you chuck the E on Berry. I was going to field him, so shout out to you, lads. And the other one I probably have to put in there is Aaron Cadman, although that was the only rookie mistake I made. I fielded Sexton over Cadman this week, but well done, son. This is what we wanted against those lowly sides. And very quickly, mates, the zeros, Caulfield, just cannot catch a break. This kid, super unlucky. Hoare as well, started as a sub. Maybe good news for him, though, with May and Lever out for at least a week, the both of them. So short term could be okay with Marty there. Nick Dacos, we will talk about him. Many questions. Hayden Young, heaps of questions in the mailbag there. And as you mentioned, Sam Berry and a key forward who I will talk about a little bit later, mate. So that is my round review. And very quickly, let's get into Spilsies. And here we go, mate. Now, before we actually get into the review here, this is the famous photo. So this is a photo that Spilsy decided to put on the dating app. A little bit of side action here. So he's got the guns out. Can you see? I don't know. You're more of an expert, Janath, and I should know this as a PE teacher. But remember, only prepped a 6 PE. I don't need to be too knowledgeable when it comes to the muscles and the bones and all that sort of stuff. But just on the old bicep, there's a little muscle that's going on there as well. So some muscle upon muscle on Spilsy there. Look at those legs. Little bit of Lockie Neal action, but greater length, I think, than Lockie. So I'll tell you what, as a female, could you deny this, Janath? I really don't think that you can, mate. And look at that beach in the background as well. The side with the bucket hat, the footy shorts, just projecting out there that he's a bit of an athlete. So Spilsy, I can see why he got snapped up pretty quickly, my friend. And congratulations to the cameraman. That was Magnificent work there, mate. But for Spilsy, mate, 2016 this week, ranked 30K. VC Sarong on debut. So well done, Spilsy. Nice selection there. Out this week, young Caulfield, Sam Berry in. He's looking at Ryan Pink Dempsey. I'll just go through this quickly now for the great man. Looking to loop Pink with Howes, Wilson with Lazaro, forced to field one by player at F6. I don't think that's going to be the end of the world. And his captains for this week, VC Gorn, bit of a pod move, I think, there potentially. C Bond, he's looking for that high ceiling and easy fullback. So that's Spilsy for you. And that is the picture that got him dominating the dating scene, mate. But that's the two of us. Now, last week, you were number one. You were ahead of the podcast for total points. Are you still ahead, mate? Or did I manage to sneak over the line? How'd you go this week, buddy?
All bells and whistles, mate. Swings and roundabouts. I'm bottom of the pod this week.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you what, it could have been a whole lot worse. Every single game that I have to watch Luke Jackson and Tom Green without owning them is genuinely cover your eyes, hide behind the couch, turn it off. 1998 for this week. I'm at 23K, so I think leading the pod by rank, quite possibly. What are you at, DR?
Oh, hang on. So we're close, mate. I am 22,613.
Oh, he's got me. He's just got me. That's right. That's right. We'll take it. It's a better start than last year. That's for sure. Let's leave it at that.
Exactly, mate.
I've got one very, very big player to thank, and that is Mr. Zachary Butters, captain for his 175, saved quite possibly a terrible round, because I think this round was really dictated if you own Jackson, do you own Butters, do you own Sarong?
Absolutely.
Some don't own all three, some own all three, and it's like in best 18, all the scores are so dense together. Like we were separated DR by 26 points. And it feels like a mile in terms of best 18. You and Spills,
two more points to that magical 2,000 mark. Doesn't it feel so much better when you see a 2 there instead of 1, just for your own mental well-being when it comes to Supercoach?
I'll tell you what, I thought Aaron Cadman would get those couple of extra points, just sneak over the line there. But I'll tell you what, he was carrying soreness into the game, according to Adam Kingsley, and just to pull out a 90 in itself, he had glute soreness, or I think it was glute soreness. And he was lucky to even play the game, so we'll definitely take it. I made two trades last week: Fisher to Billings, Gibcus to Massimo. So Massimo came through with the goods. He looked really good. I thought he was a bit unfairly judged by Champion Dart in the first quarter, especially with the whatever Hawthorn's game plan was. SDS, please tell me, brother, or what was that? That was quite possibly the worst quarter footy to watch, because it was like schoolyard footy, mate. They were just kicking 54 marks in a quarter, something like that. It's just you can't be doing that in this day and age. Like Sam Mitchell, come on, mate. But yeah, in 23K, we'll probably be boosting this week. We'll talk a bit more about it, but just in terms of personal, I'll be going to Europe at the end of this week for 2 weeks. So soaking in, I don't know, the minimal sun that's in London and Western Europe. So yeah, this just will be here for the start of the round, and then hopefully the team doesn't fall apart by the time I come back with these dodgy time zones. That it's going to be a nightmare with the sub zone. Honestly, I might just have to give my logging details to you, because if there's sub action happening, it's going to be carnage.
Scary
in Europe, but we'll live and die by it, I reckon.
Well, mate, that's look. We're sad that you won't be with us for a couple of weeks. Don't know what we're going to do without you. Spills and I tend to get a little bit loose without you on the potty, mate. So who knows where it could actually end up. It very well deserved, mate. Know you've been really busy lately, so a bit of a reward for hard effort, mate. And hope you absolutely enjoy every second of it, mate. Very well deserved, brother. Hope you make sure you take some nice pics as well. Yep. Share some nice pics. Very keen to see them, mate, and very keen to hear about your trip, brother. Enjoy yourself, mate.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Well, looking forward to being back on the pod in a couple of weeks' time. Let's hope it doesn't fall apart. I know it won't, but let's just hope,
mate.
right?
You'll be right.
All right. With that segue, I think it's perfect because this is sort of the loosest part of the podcast. Let's head on over to your rant, Dia.
Look, this is a rant this week, mate, where I'm having a rant at one particular player. I'm having a rant at some of his teammates. And to be honest, I should be ranting myself. I need to have a good, hard look at myself in the mirror for even making this move. And I'll speak with H the other night about this move. And the man I'm talking about is Jesse Hogan. Yes, I brought Jesse Hogan into my side. What the hell was I doing? I said to H, because H was thinking about doing it too. And we were discussing it maybe a couple of nights before I actually made the move. And I said, well, mate, if we're looking for just a 1 week flip, would you call, just say, a rookie that's only made 70K for a week a win or a fail? And we said, well, probably a fail. And I said, well, why are we looking to do it then? We then discussed the fact that we could be getting this really big ceiling score to go on that price cycle to match that 165. I'm not saying match the same score, but to go with it. And then we're having a week off, and then we could even keep him for that extra week, get another 50 odd K, and he could make 100 to 130K if all things go well within a 2 to 3 week period. So that was the method behind the madness. And let me tell you, mate, coming into the game, he was on 10 goals too, leading the Coleman around, I think it was about the 7-8 minute mark. He finally got around the ball, thought, here we go, getting a little bit nervous. Finally got the ball in his hand, takes his set shot. I'm thinking 10 goals too. Let's mark it to 11. The bloke did not make the distance, Janath. He did not make the distance from about 45 out. And I thought, here we go. This could actually sum up what the day is going to be like for Jesse Hogan. And, mate, it was absolutely shocking. I don't even want to go back and think about it. But I'm telling you, he was getting burnt, right, on a lead or free 25 meters in space. And they were going for other options, other elite key forward options in Brent Daniels and this Harvey Thompson guy. How the hell's Harvey getting 100 and Jesse's getting a 60? Are we living in the right world here, Janath? Come on, mate. Like, he finally gets another opportunity, kicks it behind. Shit, should have got it. Then kicks one. Here we go. Come on. He's got to get on a roll now. But it was just a nothing day. It was like an almost day for him. As I said, he got burnt on multiple occasions. It may be a little bit biased here, but when you're watching a player so closely, like you're watching the screen, where is Hogan? It was like that all day. I was just riding this pick so hard. Last game of the week, a real pod type pick. I'd made a big move. And man, it was like there was times where I went up for pack marks. And at one stage, it was almost 3 grabs and it went out of his fingertips type thing. And it's like, oh, man, finally gets a nice mark at the end of the game with about 3 minutes to go, slots that. But you know what it's like with the scaling when it's already a bit of a blowout game, when the result's already true, you just don't get those points, mate. So, shocking, just shocking round from Jesse. I didn't get the points on field that I was really looking for, and I didn't make as much cash as what I was hoping, but I got to slap myself in the face because what on earth was I doing? What a waste it was. I should have just gone early on Massimo. But yeah, slap in the face to me, slap in the face to Jesse. And come on, whoever went for Brent Daniels and Thomas, have a good hard look yourselves. Help out your mate that's trying to win his first Coleman. What on earth are you doing? It's against West Coast, Janath. I don't want to think about it. The bloke's out of my side this week. It was a quick relationship and it just did not work out. So, thanks, nothing, Jesse. That's my quick rant, mate.
Honestly, mate, when I saw your reasoning, I read the message, and I couldn't say no. But it's like one of those things you don't want to say no, and you don't want to say yes because it's too irrational. But at the same time, makes so much sense. At the same time, you're like, oh my goodness, it's just one of those gut calls, mate. They don't all go your way. Just speaking from personal experience, like exactly last year, Mills, Steele, Brayshaw, and you pick the worst of them. And it's just one of those things, Supercoach. And you live by that risk and you die by that risk at the same time.
Absolutely,
and
mate.
You couldn't have done Yeah, you can blame yourself, but it's just hindsight. And he's out now. He's going to go out, and I mean, if he did score well, you may not have had you may have had no reason to be able to trade him out and get a player in this week. So
Good
everything
point,
happens
mate.
for a reason in that way. And you got 50K. Yes, it's probably not worth the trade, but at the same time, it made that weekend a bit fun, didn't it? It gave you a bit of a
Yeah.
gave
I
you a
was
bit of
I
a
was
kick.
honestly looking forward to this Sunday because I just locked in my head a 140 and I'm just thinking, oh, here we go, all the way to end the weekend. And it's just like, oh gosh, but
You would have been
it is what
happy
it
as
is,
well
mate.
with Saturday night when I think you traded out Nick Martin for Hogan, right?
Yeah, I did.
And
I
then
did.
Nick Martin has bloody 32 touches and doesn't even turn up, and you're like, oh, here we go. It's scripted. Writing's on the wall here for a big Jesse Hogan
That's it.
140.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, thought I made the right move. H is going, oh, you bugger, I should have followed suit. And I'm like, bad luck, mate. Got to be quick with these ones. He's 30 points better off it. Yeah, well, mate,
okay, mate. Oh, well. Well, I guess what you're saying with Hogan, the whole purpose of Hogan here was get some points on field, get some cash. Well, I'm in this position where I've got Nick Martin and Ollie Wines, and I've got 3 gun rookies at the bottom here. Roberts, McKercher, Sanders, outscoring them on a week-to-week basis. So let's head on into the rookies, because I think we're sort of blessed with the rookies this year in terms of both their scoring potential, their job security, and their cash gen. So obviously, third man up, Ross and I, we put our rookie data dump numbers together. This week, you can find the full one at third_man up, but I've sort of just condensed it a bit down to just the key rookies that are sort of on the bubble, may have had a single price rise. In terms of Matty Roberts, 225,800. If for some reason you don't have him, is he as simple as get him in, even with the buy coming up? Or has the boat sailed off?
Well, this is the thing, mate. Like, how much did we start Harley Reid for? It was over 200K, wasn't it? 207K. Yep. So really, it's only 20K more for what we were starting Harley Reid at. And we've had this data already. We know what his potential scoring is like. So I still think it's okay to jump on, depending on what other rookies you haven't got on your side. Like, if I was to compare him to, say, McKercher, I think that's a really tough decision there. And I may lean the McKercher way. But yeah, I think that even though he's had that initial price rise, you have missed the boat a little bit here. But I still think there's enough meat on the bone. We know what that job security is like. Only thing that may put you off is knowing that he's got the buy coming up as well. So he's not covering during that buy. He's actually going to be missing for a week. But you may like the fact that you've got a rookie loophole there in your midfield. And he may actually come in handy during that week if you look at it like that. So I'm a yes. Are you the same on that, mate? Do you hold different thoughts?
I will say there are 3 non-negotiables, and they're your 3 midfield sort of, we'll say, uber rookies. That's your McKercher, 202,800, break even of -68, and he's averaging 92. Sanders, 184,800. He looked good. It's almost as if Bevo shouldn't have subbed him out in round 1, because what are you doing, mate?
Here we go. It's amazing what he can do in a full game, isn't it, mate? You know?
-37 break even, and then Matty Roberts, -35 break even. Yes, there are some rookies with lower break-ins, and for our audio listeners out there on Spotify, thank you for tuning in. We had a good reception to Spotify in our very first week. We absolutely love the support, and if you can give us 5 stars after listening, that just helps grow the platform for Spotify even more. And DR, Spills, and I truly appreciate that. But we got Oliver Dempsey, the blonde-headed, feels like Geelong just blood all these blonde-headed sort of locked players, sort of 148,400. Playing as a general forward, it's a bit interesting. It's a bit of an interesting role. He's going up to stoppages, but he's also sometimes playing as the deepest forward as well in he's sort of moving, interchanging with Jeremy Cameron a bit. He's got a minus 71 break even, so he'll go up a lot, and he's got a very good matchup against Hawthorn this week. So I think if we're in a position where we're going to get to the questions where those top three players there, Jack Carroll, Jeremy Sharp, Oliver Dempsey, we're going to rank them a bit later on in this episode, but all three of them have a break even that's minus 60 or below that. So it's going to be, I think you'd want at least two of those three, Dia, in your team. What do you differ in that opinion? What do you ideally you'd want all three, but I think it may be a bit difficult to have Carroll, Sharp, Roberts, McKercher, who am I forgetting? Sanders, like five of them, plus Jai Clark. There's some other mid rookies. It's a bit hard to fit them all in, but you'd ideally want two of Carroll, Sharp, Dempsey.
Absolutely, because I think they'll be really reliable on-field options. And I think that what's happened this year is that for those people that have gone with, say, a 6 premium structure, and even not premium, say you've got a Wines or a Martin type at your M6 there, the issue is that you're only able to field 2 out of the 3. And I agree with you, and I like that term that you use, like that uber rookie, because these guys are the uber rookies that can give us triple figure scores on a good day. So I think they are non-negotiables. And I think that we get a few questions about trading out Wines, but I think that if you've got Wines, and this is team dependent, at that, say, M6 position, and you've got one of these guys that's on the bench, they're pretty much giving you the same thing, aren't they? So in that case, I'll be actually tempted to trade out Nolly Wines, knowing that you're replacing him with someone that's pretty much been scoring at a similar level. If we use McKercher as an example, if for some reason you didn't jump on him. So I think they are non-negotiables, those three. Carroll, Sharp, Dempsey are very high on the hit list, but you just can't go with all of them. So as you mentioned before, we will get into the mailbag section, and I reckon we've got about 9 or 10 questions that's purely related to the 4 or 5 blokes that we just discussed there, mate. So we'll certainly get into that in a lot more detail as we get into the potty.
Sam Darcy. So Sam Darcy is going to be probably the most popular rookie on the bubble next week. And in a way, we're sort of blessed because sometimes what happens in Supercoach is we get 2 really good rookies that come onto the bubble in the same week. I think that Reef McInnes is not at the same level as Sam Darcy is. Sam Darcy had attended 42 out of 107 ruck contests against Gold Coast. That's a 40-60 split with Tim English. So it was solely Tim English and Sam Darcy. Kicked 2 goals in the third quarter, a minus 61 break even without even playing a second game. So you can only imagine what that break even is going to be if he has another ton. And guess who he played this week, Dia?
Oh, it's scary because I don't own Timmy English.
The West Coast Eagles.
Wowee.
If he scores another 100, this may quite possibly be Michael Barlow level of break evens that we're venturing into with Sam Darcy. And he is going to be must-have. Now, you could almost go a week early, but I feel like most teams are in a position where they need to get another 1 or 2 of the other rookies listed. And it's almost beneficial to sort of save Darcy for next week, unless you think that he's going to go 100 this week and you just want the points in your best 18.
100%. Absolutely agree with that, mate. I think this is an absolute godsend because we're able to make a few corrections or fix up a few things this week. And you may be able, and it depends if you've got things like DPP, but let's just say you've got a bit of a dead rookie now. You may not have to fix them this week. Knowing that you've got someone like a Darcy coming in, providing you've got DPP, let's just saying it's a defender, then you could look to do that and actually plan ahead for that. But this bloke, mate, he looked phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. The reach that he's got, it's so hard to defend. Below his knees, fantastic. It was a couple of contested marks, intercepted, playing a fantastic role as that ruck relief. There's one bloke that's going to be hating Sam Darcy, and that's Rory Lobb, because I don't think even someone like Bevo will be getting Lobb back into that side anytime soon. This is a bloke that you got to play. This is your future. and he will be an absolute star of the competition, mate. And it's a different discussion, but does the emergence of Sam Darcy potentially allow the Dogs to let go of a Tim English? They've got a few $1 million players that are going to be on their list. I don't think they can keep all of them. The Jamaras of the world as well. We know what the astronauts on. You got your Bont. They're going to be demanding a fair bit of coin. So potentially West Coast could be licking their lips. The better Sam Darcy goes. Who knows, mate? Just throwing that one out there. But massive fan of Darcy.
Supercoach-wise, mate, this could be... I know it's just one game, but if this is what Sam Darcy can do as a ruckman, it is quite possible that as we come to the end of the season, that Sam Darcy, that split becomes more and more closer to 50-50. If Tim English is deemed expendable, even though it's weird to say he's expendable because he's an all-Australian ruckman, but
that's right,
Just have a look at the old premiership teams of the past 10 years. Apart from maybe Melbourne, Max Gawn, you don't really have all-Australian ruckman as premiership ruckman, really. It's mostly your sort of middle of the pack sort of ruckman that aren't on too much coin, that sort of thing. So, yeah, it'll be really interesting. But all this is just credence to say that Sam Darcy will probably be a must-have next week. Let's hope that he doesn't get injured or doesn't get bevoed against West Coast.
That's what I'm scared about the most.
And I guess this is also a good segue into one of, well, we'll talk about the key talking points. Because if you just want to keep that graphic up, Dia, because I think it's quite important that we can start by talking about the importance of defensive bench cover. And so heading into the season, we sort of had 3 defensive rookies that most teams had. I reckon they were all about 50% owned or above. And that was Nick Coffield, Josh Gibcus, and Zach Reid. And unfortunately, the same thing that has plagued them to get to that rookie basement price is the same thing which has now impacted all 3 of them. That's injuries, long-term injuries, in fact. I know, DR, unfortunately, you started all 3 of them. So you may...
I certainly did.
I started Gibcus and Reid, so didn't get off scot-free either. But is it in this position, so if you've got all 3 of them and you may not have traded Gibcus, we still have Gibcus, is it even worth it? Like in any ordinary year, you'd be looking for, okay, I've got to fill in this gap off a dead rookie. Zach Reid's out for 4 more weeks. Is there any sort of justification for just holding him on your bench at DA and just be like, well, everyone has at least one dead defensive rookie anyway. We got 2 more or 3 more best 18 rounds of the next 4. Is there any point in trading out Zach Reid? Nick Coffield is probably a different story because it's a longer injury, 12 to 14 weeks. What do you reckon?
I actually think it's okay to leave a Reid on your bench. That's what I'm doing this week anyway. Originally, my plans were to move on Reid and Coffield because in a usual year with your best 22s without these early best 18s, those points on field are absolutely crucial. And if you've got 2 dead rookies on your bench, an extra injury there, and you're literally down to play, you've got a donut in your side. So given the fact this is a really unique year with the fixture that we've got in front of us, I actually think that it is okay. If you've got other things that you need to fix, you might be able to leave this another week. The only issue is I don't know how many great defensive rookie options that we're going to be blessed with. On a positive note, this is the way that I look at it, mate. So we've got to get to the end of round 6 before DPP changes start to come in. So if you've got even a Coffield there, which I'd probably recommend trading him, let's just say that you do. Most people have McKercher. Most people have Roberts, 2 blokes we just talked about. You may have a Sexton, those with someone like a Zach Fisher. There are lots of players that are basically locked in to get some defensive DPP. So could you just hold out even until round 6? That'll be the end of the buys. DPP comes in, and then instead of fielding a couple of these dodgy rookies, you've got your McKerchers, your Roberts down there, and then you can bring onto the field some midfield rookies that are a lot safer than those other defensive options. So that's a reason why I think you can wait. But in saying that, the more cash gen you've got early on, then the better off you're going to be. So ideally, I think you leave a Reid there. You can use him as potentially a loophole during the best 22. But I think by the time the buys come around and we can get some players back there, he may even be be due back playing football not long after. So I may hold for Zach Reed, but I'm a trade for both Gibcus and Caulfield, particularly Gibcus, given the fact he's at a higher price. It's just a non-negotiable. You've got to trade him out of your side. I'm not having a 150k bloke for Richmond as a loophole, just sitting there doing nothing. It's so easy this week to get up to a Massimo. I think that's just the move, mate. But that's my thoughts anyway, man.
Yeah, nah, that's good. The reason I was asking that is because we got Toby Pink. He's sort of the one defensive rookie that's on the bubble. He's not going to make a lot of cash, and so he would solely be sort of that insurance policy. He's got good job security. They just sort of seem to rate him, but really you're not going to have too much expectations for someone like Toby Pink compared to if you just hold your Reed until that end of round 6, start of round 7, DPP. You get your McKercher, you get your Roberts, you get your Fisher, and so those sort of players they're just going to slot straight into DPP And Jaden Popowski was saying that Riley Sanders is on track for forward DPP. So that's sort of even more justification that you sort of have to have Roberts, McKercher, Sanders. It's non-negotiable in that sense. The other thing, which is sort of underrated this week with regards to Zach Reed, is for those that don't have a defensive player on bye, like your Whitfield or I'm not sure if there's anyone that has Buderick by any chance. You can use Zach Reed to loop Zach Williams and Blake Howes. So it gives you that ability to just screen Zach Williams to score. Okay, if he scores an 80, he's probably going to be in your best 18. So you can put Zach Reed on and you can get Zach Williams to score. So that's just another sort of benefit of just holding on to a donut as opposed to just having minimal cash being made on your bench without much purpose there. So it's sort of that trade-off between points and just that tad bit of cash. What do you reckon, DR? You agree with that?
Yeah, and the other quick thing to add is that it's not like we're blessed with all these defensive rookie downgrades. Like if there was some legitimately really nice options, I think we just do it. We just go there. But as you mentioned, you pretty much got your Toby Pink, Marty Hall, maybe good job security for a week or two, but come on, with that 12 in the cycle anyway, things aren't going to happen there too quickly. So that's the other point, is the fact that I just don't like really any of the options. Pink's probably a bit of a standout for me at the moment. And when I look
Warner
at the horizon,
is one.
Warner, okay, yeah,
but he was concussed, so he's got to get back into the team first.
Yeah, okay. But again, that's maybe not a bad option. One that we could, as you said early on, we don't want all these guys available at the same time. We want blokes that we can actually get in a few weeks' time. So I don't mind that. One to definitely put on your watch list anyway, I think, Warner.
Yeah, 100%. So we've talked about defensive bench cover. Let's now move on to talking a bit more about Premos. So we'll firstly start off with the Dawson, Tom Liberatore discourse, because I know even at work today, I just had a question from one of my co-workers asking, what should I do with Jordan Dawson? He's annoying me. So for context, Jordan Dawson, when you think about Jordan Dawson, you think, all right, great left foot kick, streams out of stoppages, and he should have a positive Supercoach to fantasy ratio. Well, Jordan Dawson was the highest scoring AFL fantasy player in round 2, and he failed to turn up in Supercoach. And that's just the way the season is. Let me add to this that I think something that I've seen in a lot of teams is that teams that have Jordan Dawson also have Tom Liberatore. And this is just my personal observation.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting.
A lot of teams that have Sack Butters also have LDU, like myself. And so this is just one of those things where I don't know if it's based on safety or anything like that, but it's just a general sort of pattern that I've sort of seen. So having Dawson and Lib in the same side underperforming at the same time is obviously not great. But let's just start this discussion with Jordan Dawson, because I think a lot of people they're a bit antsy because Adelaide haven't got off to the best start. Jordan Dawson averages 124, which is the highest average against any team that he has played against Freo, and that's his That's his upcoming opponent. He scored 173 last year in sort of his breakout midfield game. And if I can just get up another stat, at Optus Stadium, Jordan Dawson averages 109.4, which is where their game against Freo on Good Friday will be. Now, I'm not saying that Jordan Dawson is going to be a definite top 8, but I think at some point you will want Jordan Dawson in your team. And even if he is your M8, it's probably going to be a better M8 than those that will maybe forced to hold Jack Steele, Matt Crouch through to the end of the season as their M8. What do you think, Dia? Do you think there's sort of a justification to that logic as opposed to just, all right, I've got Jordan Dawson with 190 break even. Does the break even matter for an Uber premium like Jordan Dawson?
This is the issue. Very quickly, I think that an issue for Dawson owners as well is that you're looking at the team across from you and they're sitting there with Matt Crouch and you're looking at Crouch's average and you're like, hang on, I've actually paid up for the quality mid and I'm just not getting rewarded. So the issue is, mate, now, when it comes to a Premo, usually we don't care about their break-evens. This week, though, is one of the biggest weeks in Supercoach because it's the first price rises. So this is a really unique week when we're looking at our premiums and their break-evens. I think we actually do need to take them into account. For someone like a Hayden Young, I'm really taking that into account this week. Now, with Jordan Dawson, what's the reason for this? So if I look at the CBA count, 84% and 86%, so that's super consistent within 2%. And he's leading the way for midfielders by 8%. Crouch is next with 77 there. So CBA role, that seems okay. As you mentioned before, you look at his stats from last week, 96 Supercoach, but 131 DT. That was 21 points more than Matt Crouch. You look at Crouch's score, 128 Supercoach to 110 Dream Team. Now, you've touched on this as well, mate. What do we think about when we think about Jordan Dawson? It's that lovely left peg. That's where he does his damage, Jordan Dawson. And if I go to the column here, disposal efficiency, it's at 61%. And that's not what we associate with Jordan Dawson. He has been a little bit sloppy lately. Now, I'm not sure if this is like he's just a little bit off at the moment. There's different circumstances during games, things happen. Or will this continue to be a pattern? Surely, mate, a bloke just can't lose his kicking ability within a pre-season. Surely he's got to come back. So for me, there are definitely two schools of thought here. I can see if you want to trade him to another premium like your Sarong that's absolutely popping at the moment. But again, you've got to back your preseason research with the players that you start. And if you think that he can basically clean up that disposal, I think that's going to go a long way to seeing some really nice Supercoach points. That's the big thing for me, mate. So I think that if you can genuinely get to another option that you're more comfortable with and you think there's a much better chance of being a top 8 mid, then go for it. But I don't think that keeping the faith with Jordan Dawson is necessarily the worst thing in the world. You could be focusing on getting a couple of good rookies in if you've had a failed rookie. And, I'm sure that Dawson will hit form again. And he's the sort of bloke, isn't he, that goes on some really mad runs. So wouldn't you hate to trade him out now? Yep. And then he goes on, just say, a 3-week stretch where he's going your 130 to 140 for an average. So I would probably, if I was forced to make a decision, and I had a little bit of carnage like your Hayden Young in your back line, I'd prioritise trading out him because I think that Jordan Dawson still has a really good chance of top 10 mid-average. Someone like a Hayden Young, I just don't see him anywhere near it at the moment for a defensive average. So, yes and no, I suppose, mate. I don't know if that's a great answer, but circumstantial, I think. What's the other carnage going on your side?
Yeah. All right. I'm going to throw a tough one at you, okay, DR? This is a pure curveball. I'm going to give you two scenarios. The first scenario is you're a non-Sarong or Butters owner. Now, would you trade Jordan Dawson if you had no other carnage? So let's assume you're not a Hayden Young owner. You don't have defensive injuries. You've got all the big rookies. You've got Heeney. You're not stuck with a bad, like Charlie Lazaro type, Sam Berry types. Caleb Windsor. Would you trade Dawson to Sarong or Butters?
In a heartbeat.
You would.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just assuming.
And give me a
Yeah.
heartbeat. Which one?
Butters.
Butters.
Butters for me.
Okay.
I'm going Butters over Sarong. Look, we've talked about the fact that he's going to sleep in his bed for 5 out of the next 7 weeks or something ridiculous like that. Remember how many people actually on this pick pre-ankle injury, and it wasn't even anything to be concerned about at the end of the day. This guy's talent is absolutely through the roof, and I think one thing he's probably got over Sarong is a stronger outside game. Sarong is one of the most elite inside mids. We know this, but I just like that about Butters, even though, look, Sarong got a couple of goals touched right on the line, so he could have been right up there with Butters this week. After that huge score in round 1, and you're probably going, look, it's Caleb Sarong. But Butters for me just has that little bit more X factor. I'll probably enjoy owning Butters as well. Another thing you probably look at is a buy and you go, well, they both got the same one. It's a perfect buy that you're looking for. So you can't split them there. So that's probably the thing for me is I'll enjoy watching Butters a little bit more. But I tell you what, wouldn't you love to own both of them? Very, very hard to split. But if I have to choose one, it's just Zach Butters, I think, for me, mate.
Okay. So in a heartbeat, you're going Dawson to Butters. If you're no other fires to put out. All right.
Yeah.
My second one might be a bit more difficult. So we obviously have Tom Green on the buy.
Yeah.
If you're a non-Tom Green owner, but you've got Jack Carroll in, what score does Jack Carroll with the emergency need to score for it to justify moving Dawson to Green? Because I personally see Tom Green and Jordan Dawson in 2 different stratospheres. Tom Green is top 3 to 4 mid. Jordan Dawson probably in that 7 to 10-ish range for me. So if you were to sideways, again, you have no other spot fires to put out. This is purely hypothetical here.
Yep.
What would Jack Carroll need to score? Because you're not going to get Tom Green's points this week, but you'd get whatever Carroll scores possibly as part of your best 18.
Yeah, well, if you compare what Dawson's been averaging, is that in the 90s?
89.
Jordan Dawson's average? 89. Okay, well, surely you'd have to be happy with a 70 from Carroll, wouldn't you? 19 points difference from what he's been averaging. Now, we're hoping that Dawson has a ceiling game and he's not going to be averaging that low. But when I compare, as you just mentioned, Tom Green as a pick to Jordan Dawson as a pick, those points that you may lose from the 70 that Carroll gets compared to Dawson, if he even gets your 120, that'll get eaten up very, very quickly with the way Tom Green's going, potentially as early as a week or 2 weeks. So I would say a score of, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go as low as 65. I'll go as low as 65. It may be a little bit painful in the best 18 week. I understand this. You don't want to be going from primo scores to rookie scores, but Tom Green is just a different beast. Tom Green's a different beast. If you're asking me to do that with another player, if you ask me the same question with Matt Rao, I say no. But Tom Green, yeah, different level this year, mate. And if you want to be able to watch GWS games, you've got to have him. I think it's just a killer not owning him, mate. So that's probably how I'd sit on that one, mate. Yeah.
I think just very quickly, and this may just be, this is a slight tangent, but I think that right now, just 2 rounds in, we're sort of seeing the basis off the top 6 midfielders. Bont, Green, Butters, Sarong, Merritt, Petrarca. Like those 6 just look like they're in this tier, and then you've got everyone else. And I guess, does everything that we said about Jordan Dawson apply for Libba? Do you have any less concerns about Libba? He's got West Coast this week, but he hasn't historically performed well against them. Like, where do you stand on that, Dia?
Yeah, well, I suppose that the big difference to me is that you look at their age. Like, Jordan Dawson should be playing his absolute best football at the moment. And Libba's getting a little bit older, isn't he? But we know what Libba does. I thought he was actually going to be a safe pick, Libba, but it just hasn't turned out like that, has it? But, yeah, pretty much same concerns. It's so tough, isn't it, when you start both of them? As you said, it's for some reason it's bizarre, but it's a bit of a common combo.
You got it exactly right there, Dia. It's the safe with Dawson, the hypothetical safeness with Dawson and Libba versus the risk with LDU, Sarong, Butters. That's exactly it.
What do you do? It depends what
Yeah.
type of Supercoach player you are in a way, isn't it, mate? So,
Yeah.
look, I think I'm very confident that Libba and Dawson will hit back. But the issue is now is the time to jump if you're really keen on another uber elite midfielder. And if you think that, particularly when you look at those top six, maybe take out track with the bye. But if you look at those top six, if you think they are going to be on a different level, then maybe it is time just to bite the bullet now and do it early. Remember, this is given the fact that you've got no other carnage there. So if you're lucky enough not to have much carnage and you've got the luxury to do that, I wouldn't mind doing it, but only if you've got that real luxury, which I think for lots of teams will be pretty rare, to be honest, bro.
I think that was a good discussion on Dawson Liv because it's one of the underrated talking points about this week because it's just one of those things where it's such a luxury to be able to trade out players that you want in your final team this early in the season. Players that we may not want in our final team later in the season are I'd like to call them the four Amigos. We sort of grouped them together at the start of the season, and that's Nick Martin, Ollie Wines, Jack Steele, Matt Crouch. And wouldn't you know, it's funny because I've got the worst two of the four. It's like putting your hand in marbles and you pull out the snake. I've been sold down a rabbit hole here. Okay, so Jack Steele and Matt Crouch are looking very good. I've got, I think, Jack Steele as the number one mid there. He's got no shoulder strapping. His tackling is back. He's getting those big. He's starting strong, and that's something we didn't see last year. But against Collingwood, I think he had a 40-point first quarter. It's just something along those lines. He started really well. And again with Matt Crouch, he's really emphasized his efficiency. So in both the games, his time on ground is a bit lower, but he's getting into that high 80s, low 90s disposal efficiency, which I would gladly take in my team with the amount of butchers.
So yeah, wouldn't you love it?
But that's really driving him. The concern with Matt Crouch though is how long do Adelaide persist with this same old slow midfield of Crouch, Laird, Berry? It's about time they release your Brankens, your Rochellis, Peddlers into that midfield. Jordan Dawson's going to stay, so it sort of leaves that one spot for Laird and Crouch. And that's my one concern. But if that's just like the subplot here. Would you trade Nick Martin or Ollie Wines to Jack Steele or Matt Crouch? And if you did, DR, which one of Wines or Martin would you trade to which one of Steele or Crouch?
Damn,
is it too sideways?
So hard. It's so hard. For some reason, I like Steele a lot more than Crouch. It's because I view Steele as having a much better chance of becoming a keeper. Like, he's the number one guy at St Kilda. We've just talked about the midfield at Adelaide, and he's got at least two blokes ahead of him. And let's be honest, they probably need to change up something in that mix as well. As a Sam Berry owner, I'm extremely worried about this as well. So out the door, I think you'll go Sammy. Look, Crouch, you really can't fault him as a pick so far. I suppose I would question what happens when that efficiency goes down. I think he had about 37 touches last week. What happens when that's 30 touches and he's going closer to the 70 mark? I don't think we'll see a fantastic score there. And with Jack Steele, after watching the first quarter, I thought to myself, the man is back. Like, this is the Jack Steele of old. This is a Jack Steele that averaged 120 plus in that season. And I think what I like about him is the fact that he looks a little bit stronger. He's still covering the ground pretty well, but it's just that tackling. It's that intent. And he just seems so hungry this year. So I love the Jack Steele pick. I like the Matt Crouch pick, but I would not be advising going sideways to Matt Crouch. I would be happier actually going sideways to Jack Steele. So I do like both picks. If I was to choose one of the two, it's certainly Steele. I'd be happy to pay up that little bit extra for him. And the other question, when it comes to Wines or Nick Martin, I'll tell you what, mate, Wines is the definition of a nothing pick. This bloke is a nothing pick. He's hopefully going to make us a little bit of coin, but nowhere near enough to make it worth it. He's not giving us scores that are above the big three uber elite rookies. He's pretty much on par. Well, he was last week anyway. The role that we're expecting and probably the TOG isn't quite there for me. And I thought to myself, look, if this bloke really doesn't go a nice 100 plus when Horn Francis is out of the side, then I am pretty concerned about this. So the frustrating thing is he's not bad enough to be a must trade, and he's not good enough to actually be holding on to. We mentioned before, if he's your M6, I think it's an easy trade. Out you go. And it's the same as Nick Martin. So if Nick Martin or Ollie Wines are your M6, I think they're a really easy trade, providing you've got those other three. And if you don't, I'd even get one. I'd trade one out for one of those big three and then invest the money elsewhere. Maybe shore up your back line if you've got a Caulfield or something like that. And Nick Martin, oh, man, like the bloke still can't turn up. And this was probably the week we had Redmond out. But again, you look to next week and now Andy McGrath's likely to be out as well. But what does he have to do to average 100? Like, does he need 40 touches?
40 touches.
Yeah. I'm not known. Like, I got out of the pick last week. So I suppose, look, I had the option, didn't I? Ollie Wines or Nick Martin. I chose to go Nick Martin. So there's my answer. I decided to go Nick out. But how do you feel about that, mate? Are you faced with the decision yourself this week in your team? So this is real for you. Are you going to trade out one of the two? Have you made up your mind about that?
Yeah, so originally my plan was this exact scenario. So I had this question planned in what was Martin or Wines to want to steal or crash. I sort of came to my senses a little bit later that the fact of the matter is whoever I get in out of Steele or Crouch, by using that trade to get Steele or Crouch, I'm basically saying they're going to be my M8 because there's no point in me trading into them because they're not going to make enough money for it to be worthwhile to trade them out. And they're probably not going to have put on as many points of a difference on Wines and Martin over the long run for it to be worth it either way. So now what I've got is Martin or Wines to sort of the flavor of the week, which is Tom Powell. And I got to figure out which one to trade out because Nick Martin, geez, this man, seriously, if someone could tell Nick Martin to kick the ball 40 meters down the line rather than trying to bite off the most adjacent to the ground kick as possible, and it's just 3 points that he's letting go.
Decision making, mate.
But I'll tell you what, Dia, he looks so much more comfortable this week as a halfback than he did against Hawthorn because he actually looked like he knew what he was doing. He wasn't. Why do you think that is?
Was it the matchup? Was it the fact that someone like a Redmond was out? Can you put it down to anything?
We were talking last week with Spills as well, but I was saying that it was his first week in a new role. He genuinely looked like that 1 week because you mature as an AFL player in a new role. He looked more comfortable. He still made pretty dumb decisions at time, which was like biting off a kick that was too hard or something like that. He had so many kick-ins. I don't have the exact numbers on me. I'll just get them up very quickly. But without Redmond, without Ridley sort of thing, he was taking the majority of the kick-ins. He took, I've got the number here. He took 6 of 13. 6 of 13 kick-ins. So he took half the kick-ins basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a tough one. I like the Wines matchup against Melbourne. Horn Francis out this week, but then at the same time, Essendon play the Saints, and so that's also a nice matchup. So it's really hard because whoever isn't traded this week is probably going to be traded next week.
That was going to be my question. So you're looking at this literally almost from a 1 week perspective here. Well, we just mentioned that McGrath's out as well.
Yeah.
We expect with Wine, with the Melbourne matchup, it's going to suit his
It will
game
suit him.
a
That's
lot
it.
more.
Yeah.
What's maybe made is it the break evens that we've got to take into account here?
Quite possibly, yeah. So I'm
So I
pretty
know
sure that
Wines is
Nick
looking to
Martin.
make money on his projection.
Yeah.
Surely Martin's got the
Yeah.
high break even.
Martin's got a 127 break even, I'm pretty sure. 123, yeah. He's going to lose 20K if he scores 70. I think that's it right there, mate. It's the fact is Ollie Wine should have gone 110. The matchup against Richmond,
Yeah.
the circumstance with that Horn France, no hopper, that was just a game for him. And he didn't. I'll give him one more chance. But the thing is, we'll talk about trades a bit later, mate. But Wines will probably become an Uber midfielder next week. And that's just prospective trade targets, which is, I guess we can segue into that very quickly. So we've sort of been chatting offline a little bit about, all right, so we're looking at trade targets this week, but we should also be thinking a couple of weeks ahead by looking at break evens and saying, okay, this is someone that I can have a look at in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to kick us off with Clayton Oliver. So Clayton Oliver has the round 6 bye. He's already gone down 48K. He scored 90, 105, 82. And one of the big things is that his time on ground has not been as high as it has in past years because Simon Goodwin's been easing him back in. And that is working perfectly in the favour of super coaches that do not own him.
Absolutely.
He's got 168 break even. So if he scores 100, he'll probably drop another 30K. So he'll be sub 600K in the matter of 2 weeks, basically. And after his bye, it is quite possible that we can pick him up for 580, 570K. So in round 7, I think you just go tick. Clayton Oliver is going to be my one-up in that week. DR, do you want to sort of tell us what another player in the upcoming weeks that you're eyeing off?
We've already talked about him. I'm going to go right down the opposite end of the scale. It's Sam Darcy. I think you've almost got to lock him in to your trade plans. With that 100 in his system, if he plays another half-decent game, I think after that game, his short-term job security is almost through the roof after what he did there. I just can't see Lob getting anywhere near it. And Bevo's already disliked by a lot of I won't say a lot of the footy community, but, in our circles, mate, he's not the most popular man. If he was to drop Sam Darcy and bring in Rory Lobb in the short term, Dogs fans would burn the joint down. They would burn the joint down. So for me, he's such an easy lock to plan to trade in. Great price, bargain basement. And by then, you might have a rookie or two that's already made a little bit of coin. Maybe they gave you a bit of a lower score and not looking to make the cash that you're expecting. Just jump ship there. Or even if you're keeping on to a Sam Berry like I am for the one more week, I think that's going to be perfect. So Sam Darcy on the opposite end of the scale should be a fantastic rookie for us, mate.
I'll add a couple of defenders into this mix. So we got Jack Sinclair. He's got a break even of 153 after a 78 in his first game. So we'll see how he goes against Essendon. But historically, he's only averaged 73, albeit he played as a pressure forward for a while. But his last 3 as well, he's in the 70s when we did our captaincy data pile up. So it's not his favorite matchup, that's for sure. So it's possible that he'll get to 560K in a couple of weeks. So again, round 5, round 6-ish could be a cheap defensive upgrade because we know how good Jack Sinclair is on his day.
Absolutely.
And then the other one who I completely wrote off last week, ironically, but I'm still going to back it in that if the game plan that got James Sicily to 60 Supercoach points in the first quarter cannot be played. If they play chip mark footy, Sam Mitchell's going to be sacked by mid-season. You can't be doing that in this modern day AFL. James Sicily only got to 123 in the end, which sort of in a way he scored 60 points in 3 quarters after they changed the game plan.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like he got to 123. He should have got to 200 the way he started. Well, 150 the
you're
way he started.
expecting.
Like,
You know, he can go 170s, 180s quite easily on his
exactly.
day, James Sicily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a 195 break even. He's projected to lose 40K this week. So again, another one that we may be eyeing off, but I need to see more about his role because you can't, as a key back in a team that doesn't have many key backs, you cannot be going behind the back of the person with the ball, leaving your man behind for a cheap kick, especially as the captain of the footy club. So that's a little rant as well at James Sicily because I don't think that he's
Mini rant,
playing.
love it.
I don't think he's playing footy that is helping Hawthorn given their circumstance and the need that they need a key back that is accountable for their man at the moment. And so just a little slap on the wrist for James Sicily there.
Just a mini slap.
Just a mini slap, you know. But I think we covered the prospective upgrades there. We can sort of talk about just very quickly, DR. We don't need to touch on too much, but is it too late for sort of the early season bolters, Isaac Heeney, Luke Jackson, those types?
Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? You really should have jumped on Heaney last week. He should have been your main priority. It depends on this is, I think, very, very gut feel. So originally, very quickly, we were thinking he's going to pretty much be a flip around his bye. There'll be other midfielders that will come in, take that role. He'll go back to his forward role and maybe start to pump out some 90s again. But with the way that he's playing, I just don't see him moving out of the midfield in the short term. Even when Adams is back, are you really going to move Isaac Heeney in this form out of the midfield for a 30-odd, however he is, Taylor Adams? No, horse is better than that. So, look, I think you could stretch at a stretch, but I'd be loath to do it. Dogga is another really interesting one. Yeah. Hey, if Darcy's out for the season, the best buy this week, jump on him is the definition of a must-have. Now, Footy Rhino Daniels, who I really rate as a good journo, originally tweeted out that he'd be back by round 4. Freo then, the club, put out a tweet saying that he's still 2 to 3 weeks away. So you've got, let's just say, 3 weeks up your sleeve with Dogga. Another thing we were talking about pre-podcast is, are they really just going to throw Shrek back into the ruck full time? What's that split actually going to be like? You would assume, wouldn't you, that it may be even a 50-50? Play Shrek up forward, get Dogga running around, just get some Ks into Shrek's legs. I don't know. I'm only guessing this, and we can only make our own projections. But, look, he's going to make a 50K just this week. He's going to cover during the buys for Gawn and Grundy, who are 2 very popular options. He could be that quick flip type coming up against West Coast as well. There's potential another ceiling game in there. I think there's pros to doing this.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's okay. But it's going to be a bit of a sugar hit. But the sugar hit, it could be one of those max Slurpees. You know what I'm saying? Rather than just a small coffee, one of the big gulp type things. If he hits his ceiling, mate, and if he can cover during those buys, that's what I'll say.
Scary as a non-owner. As a non-owner, it's very scary. I must say. To that, well, with Isaac Heeney, you're saying that last week was the week, but when you got Richmond, West Coast, and Hawthorn as 3 of your next 4 opponents, and then Gold Coast in the middle of that at the SCG, is it really too late? Like, he's got the bye, I get that. But, like, geez, it's a scary run to be a non-owner.
Can you afford not to own him during that run? Like, really, it's
saying,
and he's still projected to make some really nice coin from where he's at, and I don't see a reason that he's going to be moved out of there or that role's going to change. Do you know, when you add that run into it, you surely, it's not too late. I'm gonna change my tune on that even more. I was a little bit iffy on it. Yeah. I'm gonna on both of those players. No, it's not too late.
No, it's not too late, and that's totally fair because it's for different reasons, and as a non-Jackson owner, Sean Darcy, I will come and massage your knee to make sure that you're out there next week because
See you with the
I
big
can't
palm
take
league
it.
in the
It's
toga.
you know what, DR. Seriously, Tristan Sherry. Every man and his dog knew where Fremantle were kicking the ball inside 50. Tristan Sherry's looking around like, where's Luke Jackson here? He's out the back. He's ducked out the back. He's 20 metres out the back of him, and he's just taken an uncontested mark in the forward pocket. He kicks it out on the full, and Luke McDonald's run over the marks. They gets a 50 metre to the goal square.
How lucky is that?
I'm like, it's scripted.
And you know what? I think
this is scripted.
To get to a 170 type score, you've got to have a couple of those moments. You know, it's so rare to get there. But wow, he's such a fun player to watch as well. Just the way that he plays the game with the big marks. He's just
and then the way he like leapt for that ball. That was like the inside kick, and he took it on the sec. It's like, as a non-owner, you just got to be like, all right, you're just too good, mate. Like you can't. I don't blame him for. It's hard because you just want, like, just please stay low. But at the same time, when you've got a specimen like this, it just doesn't make sense why Fremantle signed Sean Darcy up for so long with these injury histories, with basically a golden treasure chest in your hands with Luke Jackson. He's a unicorn. You've got him. You've got him locked up already. You don't need Sean Darcy.
Strange list management. I thought he was gone. He was gone. They obviously see
Hubs would have paid up. They would have paid up. They would have got compensation.
That was so logical to me as well. It was such a logical fit. I thought it's going to work for both parties here as well. Yeah. But obviously not, mate. It is what it is. Yeah. But
that's right.
Yeah, I can see you sitting there with the bunch of grapes there, just dropping him into his mouth. Yeah. I'm seeing the whole Greek background there, you know, with the big columns and
All right. And then this is the topic or the key talking point of the week. Hayden Young, geez, what a failed pick he's been. 165 break even. He's projected to lose, if he scores a 78, he's going to projected to lose 40K from an already value-based price of 525K. Can you spitball to me, DR? Can you give me an Uber replacement or two, up to you? Someone in the 400 to 500, 525 range, and then someone right down the barrel, bottom of the barrel, sort of in the Massimo to 350K range.
All right. So if you go on a premium at the moment, it is so hard to look past Luke Ryan. It's absolutely sickening, that role. If you're not going Luke Ryan, I'd probably have a look at Harry Sheasel. I just think the value's there. I think Houston's really good as well. But Luke Ryan, I think for me at the moment, is just looking sublime. He's really hurting non-owners. And that ceiling, we know what that's like. It's just such a sickening role. And I just don't think that it's going to change, mate. So he's probably the one there for me. Nazaya, I would shout out as that 400 to 500K type bloke. I don't know if I can't remember if you did. I certainly started him last year. We did, didn't we? I
got him back in. Yeah.
You did too. Yeah. And that was a decent move because he had a really good end to the season. But this bloke's skills and decision making, so he's like the complete opposite of what I've been seeing from Nick Martin. The kicks that Nick Martin bites off, he can't make. But Nazaya can make. He has just such an amazing skill set, mate. He's gone just over 100, 120. The issue is you've got Bonner and Sinclair that may affect him. They could have bad weeks, good weeks there, but he's probably the bloke for me. He's just super, super talented. I'm going to throw a real pod out there, a real pod. I would not have the kahunas to go there myself, but I think we could have the new cannon here from Port Adelaide in Kane Farrell. So sitting just over 400K, had a couple of nice hundreds on kick-out duties. You know that he's very likely to get a bonus goal or two, just going around the back for that dodgy handball or receiving it about 90 metres out from goal, having a quick run and then just booting from 70, 65 out. He can make the distance there. So he's a real pod pick, but I couldn't go there myself, mate. A few people looking at Windhager as well, another bloke that I owned last year. Brad Crouch out of the side for a little while.
Yeah.
Look,
Lockie Bramble.
Lockie Bramble. A big shout out to Ange. Ange is into Bramble. And very, very quickly, I'll take 20 seconds on this. Not really Supercoach related, but heard off a very good mate of mine that Ross Lyon and Brad Crouch are not even on talking terms at the moment. And regardless of whether or not he had that injury, potentially not playing another game for the club. That's what I've heard. That's serious at the moment. They might be able to patch it up. I may be making this up, but come from I'll call it a very, very reliable source there. So
I hope it's not Cammer.
No, it's not Cammer. No, people probably think I've got Cammer under the bus because we know Cammer. It is not Cammer. But very reliable there, mate. Got some good goss, and it's been correct before. So, not really Supercoach relevant there, but
well, it is. It definitely is, mate. If he's not on talking terms, he's not getting another gig. That's very good for Windy, for Jack Steele, or I don't know, Mateus Filippo, Mitch Owens.
Yeah, well,
lots of players that can roll through there.
Someone, absolutely, mate. And
we'll find out. We'll find out.
We will. Absolutely. And look, the other price point there, Massimo is just clear for me, mate. Just absolutely clear for me, the best option. And then your Lockie Bramble could be another one that you could look at there as a bit of a pod type pick.
Yeah.
But there's not too many around that price that I'm a big fan of. I think it's a bit of a dangerous price point in our defensive lines, mate.
No, totally. Well, I've just pulled up some stats by the great man Jaden Popowski, and Luke Ryan tops all players for points from disposals. Now, I personally don't know the difference between a possession and a disposal because they're very, very similar. But a possession is like you got the loose ball and ground ball gets as well, whereas disposal is more clear cut. You got your kicks and you got your handballs.
Yes.
Luke Ryan gets 75.5 points from his 2-game sample size from disposals. That's a lot of points from disposals. But I want you to have a guess, DR. This is just, I'll put you on the spot again. Sorry, I always do this. How many disposals do you reckon Luke Ryan averages if he has the most points in the AFL for Supercoach from disposals?
Well, I know that his kick to handball ratio would be really, really nice. So we know that obviously you want your players kicking the ball. I'll say 28.
It's 28.5. It's not that much. Like, I'm saying, like, he's just got a very, very good disposal efficiency. And any player with a good disposal efficiency is one that is gladly accepted into the
Gold,
Supercoach
isn't
team.
it? Gold.
For instance, this week, he had 23 touches, 7 marks, at 100% disposal efficiency and scored 127. Like,
wow,
that's all you can ask for, right? Because you're basically saying 23 disposals, 127. He's getting 5.5 points per possession or per disposal. That's gold. That's Supercoach gold. So I think we're on the same page there, man. I think Luke Ryan is the best. Tom Stewart is very close. Harry Sheasel, you can get to Harry Sheasel, and I would say Harry Sheasel, Luke Ryan's the best bet. But a lot of coaches already own Harry Sheasel, structure-wise from the start of this year. So, Luke Ryan, he looks good. Again, just one of those preseason picks where there was those concerns about him having foot issues and him not kicking long, and then you see him in the home and away season, you're like, that's such BS.
Yes.
Anyways, I think we covered Hayden Young off pretty well. Is there any other names you just want to float quickly or anything?
Look, I think he's the real talking point, isn't he? The Hayden Young. If I quickly look here, I'll tell you what, we had a... sorry, mate?
Is there a world in which you hold?
Not for me. I just... He's got the potential to lose so much coin. And the issue is, if he loses 40K, who else is around that price point that you're interested in? I think this is the week where you've just got to go up. You've got to spend 80, 50K and just bring another premium player in, mate. I think it's way too risky to hold for me, mate. Look, we've talked about, the day cost dump. I don't think that's a good move. We could be showing Jordan the Dawson. We had a few of these in the messages, didn't we, mate? We'll talk about Alex not being a sexy pick anymore as well. And I'll stop there because I'm loving my own content here, mate. But
you got another one. What about what is it? That's why you love the beer over the wines.
That's right. The wines doesn't taste very nice at the moment. It's a little bit off.
I'll give you one more DR before we finish off the young discussion. We were talking about buys. Hypothetically, Zach Williams goes 90 as the emergency. Would you trade Hayden Young to Lockie Whitfield?
Oh, do you know what? I was just going to mention him before.
Sheasel, Ryan. Like, where are you going?
I was literally going to say, geez, if Whitfield wasn't on that buy, he'd be a really tempting option because he's a pod. But I would still be going Harry Sheasel, mate. I'd still be going Harry Sheasel. Look, it's all hearsay given the fact that, no, I'm sticking with Sheasel over Whitfield, mate. Just those little durability
really like
concerns
always worry me. His role, it is good. It's a good
and he's got history in it, doesn't he? And he's an elite player. So, big shout out to Causa, the ladies' man. He started with Lockie Whitfield as a bit of a pod, so didn't get it all right, Causa. But you did well there, son. Well done, buddy.
That's it. Do we want any other sort of quick discussions about trades before we jump into the mailbag?
Look, I suppose, mate, just very, very quickly, if we're talking about priorities this week, it is very, very team dependent. But I think there's a few things that we need to take into account. So the first one is to ensure that you've got enough cash gen before the first price. Well, it's technically the second price rise, isn't it? But the first price rise for many of our players. So that could be a real main priority for you. Get the must-haves. Now, the must-haves could be your rookies. We've talked about the big three there. Could be a really nice mid-price that you've missed out on, or some Premos. You could fix some structural holes. So I know for lots of teams this week, you may be looking to possibly restructure slightly and even get an extra premium defender in if you are carrying a couple of those extra players on the bench. And we've already talked about that. Usually this would be the week to fix our dead rookies, but with that best 18 and the Darcy types coming up, then maybe you could lean off that a little bit. So I think there's probably 4 priorities that you may have this week. And depending on how you're tracking and what your play style's like, it may be any one of those 4. But just a few things just to shout out, mate, before we get into these questions.
Yeah, we've got a lot to get through, so I reckon we jump straight into it.
A record this week, mate. A record this week, and thank you very much. We had 40 questions, so jeez. I don't know how many the most we've had, maybe around the 20 mark. I think
definitely it is, not 40.
But, 40 this week. So I was a little bit shocked, but thanks for all the support, guys. We love the networking. We love having a chat and hopefully giving you some decent advice. We won't always get them right, but we'll do our best. Now, because we've
just add DR very quickly to that. We hope that a lot of you guys will be repped out in Swordplay merch in the coming months.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I tell you what, those logos and images looking mighty fine at the moment, mate. I did speak to Cam as well, mate. I'll chat with you off camera as well. So looking very, very good. All steam ahead with that one, mate. But look, what I've tried to do this week. So normally I go to the Twitter page. I actually did a bit of a cut and paste here and put them on some slides. And I've tried to group as many of the questions as possible because we've got a few similar ones, particularly when we're talking about rookies and all the rest. But I've done my best to group them. And for lots of these, it will be maybe some rankings that we'll do, maybe, mate. But we'll get to those questions in a little bit. So we are going to start off with my man here. What have I done there?
You're good.
Hang on. There we are. Sorry. We are going to start off with my man, the Rain Man, a good Carlton supporter. Janath, I know that you have a lot to do with this legend. So one of the veterans of the community as well, mate. Yep. So great to see you tuning in, mate. I know you do each week. We really appreciate the support, buddy. Always got good questions as well. Is it worth riding with no defensive bench cover until someone presents, or we can throw Colby or Roberts down back? I think we've probably answered this, mate. Can't see Pink or Horse setting the word on fire. And with best 18, is it a relevant risk? I'll get through this one pretty quickly, mate. And I think it is okay to ride with not too much defensive cover with the best 18s. And we've already talked about that DPP after round 6. Anything you want to add to that, mate?
I think Rainman is Rob has nailed it on the head. Just ride it out. You don't need the bench cover right now. I don't think so.
Beautiful, mate. Next one, another legend in a cashew with me, the Silver Pigeon. How are you, mate? Love the swordplay. Hey, and I tell you what, I love the old school logos, those vintage logos. It takes me back to my childhood. So love that old D's one there, mate. Magnificent. Any issues with using 6 trades in the first 2 weeks? I bloody hope not, mate, because I will be. Some of us have a few issues to correct, or more than a few. Also, can I trade out a few players from a prison league team?
From the prison league team.
Unfortunately, she's locked away there, mate. The prison team is locked away. But I can tell you that there are some teams with a fair bit of carnage. You won't be the only one, mate. And it's a very, very long season. So for me, no issues with using 6 trades. Look, obviously, you don't want to use 6 if you don't have to. But now is the time to fix up the team, fill in those holes where you can. So I've got no problems. Janath, you got any issues with 6 trades in the first couple of weeks, mate?
1 trade now can save 2 to 3 trades down the line. So I think with that logic, it's okay. But at the same time, without the context of knowing what these trades are, it's very difficult to just tick off and say, okay, it's going to be good in all circumstances, because a boost is very handy. And we saw that last year. I even had a boost left over, but I just knew that having that boost is sort of like that security net where if I'm 2K short off the ideal trades, I just got that boost there and can just bank a little cash next week and get the desired trades done this week, like in upgrade season. So just bear that in mind, Silver Pigeon. But yeah, I think if there's no issues with using 6 trades, as long as you use them wisely and you're setting your team up for the upcoming weeks.
If only I had a time machine and didn't get Jesse Hogan. Well, mate.
Come on, mate.
I've got to stop thinking about that. He's gone now. Next is Supercoach NASA. How are you, mate? Hopefully your team rockets up the rankings this week, my friend. Is trading out Nakos a play given upcoming fixtures? And we'll get straight to probably one of the biggest legends, let's be honest, of this swordplay community, mate. And it's Kata. Sometimes with Kata's questions, he often gives us things to think about. And I think I'm actually going to use that strategy, Kata, like the one with McKay last week. So thank you very much for that, mate. He's got the same question. Then he adds a little bit more context to maybe why you're thinking about this. Round 3, possibly a Dev Rob tag. I'm not too concerned about his matchup with the Lions, to be quite honest. I think that's actually a half good one for him. Round 4, Finn with the tag, a very real possibility. Done that in the past. Round 5 is a bye. And then round 6, he comes up against Willem Drew, who's obviously done some roles, some really nice defensive roles in the past. Keeping in mind, Dacos is a real different beast. To add to this fixture, it's the break even. So he's going to be losing coin in the next couple of weeks. A very high ownership player as well. You may look at high ownership in a couple of different ways. You may say, well, I'm just going to keep on to him because everyone else has it. We're all going to suffer through this. Or you could think to yourself, this could be a massive antipod mood, knowing that 80%, 70%, whatever it is of the comp is going to still be running with him. This is my chance to do something different and really start to go up the ranks in the short term anyway. So, look, I think that if you don't have any other concerns, you've got a really perfect sort of looking side.
That's it.
I think you can do it. But for most
teams, got to get him back in.
That's the issue. You know that you're going to be using your 2 trades here. And that's similar to downgrading from a Grundy to a Cherry. People have asked me that question this week. Well, yeah, it looks great. You're going to make 100K, but will he actually make enough to make it worthwhile, knowing that you're going to have to trade him out again? So it's a sort of a similar way I think with Dacos. If you trade him out, you know you're going to need to get him back in. So for me, I'm not doing it, and I don't think it's the best move, but if you've got the luxury to do this, you're in a bloody good position. So that's probably my thoughts on it, mate. What do you think about trading out Dacos and obviously having to get him back in at some stage?
Same thing with me, mate. Like you've sort of got to have the perfect team to be able to try something like this. So I'm just going to come out up front and say the non-starters won because yes, he went 1/3 in the first 2 weeks. One of those weeks didn't even count for Supercoach. It looked really good in that week. The 54 just came out of the blue. I thought I didn't have the VC on him. I went gone into Butters. I was like, all right, here comes the Nick Dacos 200 game. He was on 10 now, like 10 seconds. And then he finished on 54. It's like completely out of the blue.
Yeah.
And so he's going to lose cash and the non-owners won. I don't think, though, that trading him out and trading him back in, using those trades, the cash, he may lose another 60K, another 70K, and you may get him at 540K. If that's the case, again, you win. But he's too good of a player that if he scores 150 this week, the 54 from last week becomes irrelevant, basically. And I think that's sort of a way you can look at it because a player like Nick Dacos, he's a leader of that club. The club is struggling. You can't see him putting out another 50 this week, can you, Dia?
No, he's a proud man. He's a proud man, Nick Dacos, and he's too good of a player to stay down for too long. So I absolutely agree. I think we're pretty much on the same page there, mate. So I would call this
Thursday night
ultimate luxury move. An ultimate luxury move. And you've got to have a pretty good side to be able to do it. But thanks, Nasta.
Thursday night, mate. Thursday night, mate. It's going to be a track meet. It's genuinely going to be just hell for leather, all-out brawl because both clubs, that win, it's season-defining stuff, really. You guys can't be losing 2 games of the Gab in the first 3 weeks. They can't be 0-4. Someone's going to the result, unless it's a draw, obviously. It's going to go one way or the other.
I tell you, I'm on holidays Thursday, so I'll start my holidays. I'm so keen for this one. It's not funny, mate. I'll be watching with hopefully great joy. I'll let you know next week, mate. I'll send you a message when you're overseas, mate, and let you know. All right, thanks for that, guys. Much appreciated. Next one here is from Dom. G'day, Dom. How are you, mate? ADR, love the pod, boys. Thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate the support, brother. Dawson trade or hold. I want him gone. But I know as soon as he goes, he'll bounce back for a 150. We know this. It's almost guaranteed, isn't it, mate? And then non-biased Carlton boy as well. Non-biased. I love that. Dawson, trade or keep. So similar.
Oh, we talked about this.
Questions here. We've already talked about his next thing here. So tempted to go Butters or Sarong. So if you do decide to trade Dawson, I like Butters personally. And I think we've pretty much answered this question, haven't we, already with Dawson, mate? So
hold. He's got a good matchup this week. He's going to lose cash. You got to admit it, is that unless he goes 200 this week, he's going to lose cash. But if I would prefer Jordan Dawson at M8 than a Matt Crouch or a Jack Steele. And that, like, it may be not being reactionary. Like, that can also happen because I may not be reacting to the change in times with Jordan Dawson or the change in or the upgrade in Matt Crouch and Jack Steele's performances this year. But yeah, Jordan Dawson as an M8 at the end of this year sounds very, very good.
Yep, I'm with you, mate. Absolutely. Next one is from Jules, one of my favorites. Crazy Frogs. I tell you what, this great man loves a pod move. Are you coming to Adelaide next week for the gather round? Jules, I'm spewing. I said to Janath last year, at this day, mate, next year I'm locked in. I'm doing it. Things just didn't happen this year, Jules. But I'm going to make the same commitment next year with absolute bells on. The amount of blokes that I would love to go up with, and lovely ladies as well. Oh, we could have such a great time. So unfortunately not, mate. But I know you're an Adelaide boy. Hopefully you might have some bunk beds for Spills, Janath, and I, mate. Maybe one of those triple ones. I'll be there, mate. I will be there for one of these gather rounds, absolutely, mate, because I know that I'm missing out. And have a ripping time. I'm sure you'll be
this year. What is it? Unfortunately, I can't be there because we're going to Europe for 2 weeks. But yeah, next year, I just being able to experience the first gather round. It's just Adelaide put on an absolute show. It's a brilliant city. I can't speak of it highly enough. It's just one of those experiences you have to have, and just being able to be a part of that first one was really special. So for sure, Jules, DR, Spills, it'll be swordplay in Adelaide. We may do a special podcast in Adelaide. Who knows?
Oh, how's that? I like the sound of that, mate. Absolutely.
Decked out in the
Absolutely.
swordplay gear.
That's it. We'll have all that, won't we?
Live
Have the
audience.
beanies on,
Get a
mate.
live
Yeah.
audience.
Oh, now we're talking, Janath. Now we're talking. And we know that you're a celebrity up there as well, getting noticed at the footy, lots of selfies with players. And lots of people assume, and we did share those photos last year, a nice one with Sammy Draper. It was actually Sammy. Hey, Janath, would you mind, mate? All right, Sammy, come here, mate. You have the privilege. So,
mate.
yeah, no, but, mate, you cannot wait to finally get up to gather in.
We'll do it.
Next one is from an absolute legend, Dill Twads. G'day, Dill. How are you, legend? Just a nice message here, mate. Hey, fellas, keep up the great work. Good luck in round 3. Absolutely same to you, brother. Good on you, Dill. Appreciate you, man. All right, on to the next slide. Next lot of questions. Now, these are the ones that I've really grouped together here, mate, because we're talking rookies. And there's probably 4 or 5 names that are really common here. So I'll just skip Sexton just for 1 sec. So we've got a lot of questions about Carroll, Sharp, Dempsey. They're probably the main 3 there. We have talked a little bit about Sam Darcy as well. So we will potentially rate these guys and have a chat about these guys in a minute. Before we do that, we do have a couple of questions around trading Alex Sexton. So Will's got the first up at the top. G'day, Will. Prefer to hold or trade Sexton this week, especially with Dempsey as an option. Second one here from CR7. Would you rather trade Sexton based on Dimmer showing that he's capable of playing forward, or Tom Berry based off a stinker score, even though he scored a goal? So I suppose, first of all, mate, do you think it's viable, just as a general, to trade out Sexton this week? Are you a fan of that?
I'm not personally. Just given the fact is that he was put in that role for a reason. Just unfortunately, the Gold Coast sub, Rory Atkins, is also halfback. And when I think when Ben Long got subbed off, they were down a couple of goals. Obviously, it makes sense to put a natural half forward to half forward when you bring on a halfback as your sub, after substituting off a half forward. So, like, switching magnets around, I'm not overly concerned. Now, if Sexton comes out and starts at half forward next week, then yeah, I would be.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's still got a negative break even, so he's going to make money either way. And I feel like if Sexton is your biggest concern, your team is in a very good position. To answer CR7's question, I was never hot on Tom Berry. Just the fact is, he was a pressure forward. We were talking last week. We were saying, like, he's the best of a bad bunch of rookies to trade in, because there wasn't really any rookies to trade in necessarily, apart from Massimo. It was Massimo and Berry, wasn't it? So it was like...
It was, yeah.
Yeah. With Berry, he's a pressure forward. When the team doesn't play, he's a barometer. That's exactly it. When he plays well, Gold Coast play well. And just as a side point, I think my sort of concerns about the Gold Coast midfield were sort of allayed, because we were talking, how many times have 4 midfielders in the same midfield averaged 100? And as soon as they lose, you see the ceiling come from here down to here. And that Gold Coast aren't going to win every game this year. They're going to have games like this as much as they have games like against Richmond, like they have against Adelaide. So Berry over Sexton, trade it out. I would prefer to hold Sexton this week. Dempsey is a tough one. It's hard to gauge. As an owner, I may be a bit biased and say that he is a must-have. But, DR, where do you stand on Dempsey?
Oh, it's so tough. And the term must-have is so strong, isn't it?
Yes,
it's so strong. Look, with Dempsey, originally, the reason why I wasn't too keen is the fact that he's a forward and he plays for Geelong. What I didn't know, however, was the fact that the forward role that he plays, he actually comes up the ground a fair bit and gets involved. He didn't hit the scoreboard last week, from memory. He had one chance where I think it was a little snap and he completely fluffed his lines there.
It was a gimme goal, yeah.
Yeah. So potentially more meat on the bone last week than what we actually saw from him. The elevated price, although it's not really elevated, that may put you off slightly. But you really talked him up last week, or particularly talked up his VFL form last week. You're a big fan of him.
for
You
sure.
even had the
100%.
confidence to start the bloke on
Yeah.
field. So I'm not going to go as far as saying he's a must-have, but I think he's going to be a fantastic buy. He's got fantastic job security. My man Jared Waitley gave me the hot tip a little bit earlier on in the preseason. He was a big fan of Dempsey. So I think he's going to be a fantastic trade-in. I think people may be, I won't say put off, but a little bit disappointed with what he produced last week. But that's because you've seen that 90 score the week before. You can't have expectations like that with players, with many rookies whatsoever, let alone a bloke that's going to be a forward for Geelong. So I really like the look of him, but I'm not going to call him an absolute must-have. Your thoughts, mate?
The matchup's great this week against Hawthorn. So the data I had was he averaged 102 Supercoach points in 14 VFL games last year, which is why I felt comfortable fielding him. Yeah, fielding him last week. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough, Will. I wouldn't trade Sexton to get Dempsey in. Okay. I don't think that Dempsey's that much of a must-have to part ways with Sexton this early. I think there's meat on the bone with Sexton as well, because he hasn't shown anything like he did in the preseason. I know the preseason numbers are typically inflated for halfbacks, but he's still got... Imagine if he kicked that goal against Adelaide when he came off the back of stoppage. We wouldn't be having this story, because he probably gets a lot of scaling from that one goal alone.
Very true, mate. Very, very true. And I think just quickly on Sexton as well, I think that when people are looking at their forward lines, so for those people that are saying themselves, I think Dempsey's a must trade in this week. I need him in my side. And you're actually looking at those rookies. You might have your Harley Reeds, your Jordans, if you've got a couple of those premiums like your Heeney and your Dogga. And you're looking at those blokes, and some people may be thinking, well, it's pretty much Sexton that would have to be the bloke to go. It's not necessarily I really want to trade out Sexton, but I don't want to trade out Cadman. He's got a lot more money to make. So it may be just he's the last man there that you've got the option of trading out. But I'm with you there. Something I didn't think of was the fact that, last week when he did get moved, he was actually a really decent forward, second leading goal kicker of all time for the club. So rather than think about the fact that, he just got kicked out and Atkins is going to be there now, that's something to keep in mind. And like a couple of days before, I was actually reading an article, I think it was like on the AFL website, where he's talked about how he sat down with Dimmer at the start of the year and had a really good chat, really positive, I've got a new role for you type thing. So I don't think that just because he gave away a clanger and a 50-metre penalty that they're going to say, right, you're out of that role now, mate. I think it was a little bit circumstantial.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to add that little bit to the Sexton discussion, mate.
Yeah, context, yeah.
All right, so we've got the next bloke probably we're going to talk about, and I'm going to give you the floor here because it's one of your boys. It's Jack Carroll. Originally, I was even considering bringing Carroll in last week, given the fact that you could use a loop and I didn't have a loop in my midfield. I thought that could actually work out okay there. I decided not to go there and leave it that extra week. I've heard some pretty positive reviews about this fella. I put a tweet out the other week asking us, and I'll tell you what, the response I got, JP was on there, the Rain Man, yourself, Damon, Supercoach Edge, so many great Carlton people did reply to that, which I really appreciated. And a big theme that I got was all around Sam Walsh. Great, well, Sam Walsh isn't there, but when Walsh returns, we don't know how well he's going to be coming. Now, I did see a quick tweet. I just glanced past it just before we started recording, saying that he may potentially be back in 2 to 3 weeks. I had someone else tell me it might be more mid-season buy type stuff. So I'm a little bit all over the shop. I've got varying information. I'm going to give it to you now, mate. Tell us about Jack Carroll and what you think his prospects are going to be if you're looking to trade him in this week.
So Carroll as a player is really good. And we've seen that already in the first couple of games he played. Like, jeez, I'm sorry for having to keep bringing this up. But he scored 16 in a quarter against your mob, turned the game basically.
Yeah. All right.
And then he backed it up. I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry. I had to.
No, you did. You did. You're a good bloke, Janath, going about it that way. Yeah. Unlike Spills, who's off gallivanting with his girlfriend and not being with his brothers. But anyway, that's all right, mate. I'll move on. I'm not cut.
Do you want a tissue?
I deserve. All right, mate. I deserve that. Okay.
He scored 74 against Richmond. So the scoring is not an issue. It's purely job security, right? And all I can say is, so Sam Walsh has had lingering back issues. So he had it a couple of years ago, a couple of years ago. And now he's had this issue again where his back's it's just flaring up, and it's impacting his sort of ability. I don't know where it's come from, because when in his first couple of seasons, he was like the Iron Man. He was playing week in, week out, no issues. Jack Carroll had the biggest raps from Patrick Cripps in the offseason. Of any player, it was like most players, but especially Cripps was like, who do you see breaking out this year? Jack Carroll, Bot Carroll. And he sort of took him under his wing. You even seen Roman Bryan when after the Carlton win against Richmond, when he's interviewing Jack Carroll, he's got Patrick Cripps and his arms draped around his shoulder. There's like a genuine brotherhood between them. I'm pretty sure they're both Perth boys from the same junior club, which is why that link is there.
Okay.
And Jack Carroll he's going to be a fine player in the future. Now, Sam Walsh, they say 2 to 3 weeks. If we string together some wins, I can see that pushing out more and more, because he's too important for player for us to rush him back in. Yeah. And I think that's where the mid-season buy part comes in, because last week the timeline was indefinite. This week it's 2 to 3 weeks. He's on a modified program. He'll work his way up to full fitness. And Carlton as a medical team tend to take it very conservative. So I know some medical teams just, as soon as they're 99% ready to go, they're on. They're onto the park. We take it 100. They need to be 101%. We saw with Zach Williams. He wasn't blooded in the preseason game. Had to make sure that he got through his hurdles, got through his stepping stones, and he got in. With that in mind, I'm bringing in Jack Carroll. Take that for what you will. I don't own Jeremy Sharp, so I'm going Carroll over Sharp. For Lincoln, your question, I think that Jack Carroll, if he gets 3 weeks at North, Freo, Adelaide, he should make enough cash that even if Walsh comes back and his role is affected, I still think he stays in the side. He may get less CBAs, but if we have a look at the centre bounce appearances for Carlton against Richmond, what was it? Jack Carroll goes, so Chera got 74, Cripps 81, Hewitt 70, Carroll 52, Kennedy 11, Fogarty 11. Carroll may go down to 30. But we saw last year that Sam Walsh didn't actually get that many centre bounce appearances in the middle of the season. He was at 55, but there were at least 5 games where he got less than 40% CBAs. And so I think, again, when Walsh comes back in, we'll ease him back in as a high half forward and then into the midfield. That's just the way I see it. And so I feel I have enough confidence in Jack Carroll as a pick in the short term. I just wanted to make sure that Sam Walsh wasn't back this week. Because if he was back this week, the entire sort of allure off the pick in these next 2 weeks, he has North this week. It's a fieldable matchup.
Oh,
and then he has Freo. He has Freo at Adelaide Oval, and then he has Adelaide at Marvel. And we've seen like speed kills against Adelaide midfield, really. And so,
mate.
So let's have a look at these questions. So, Lincoln, I'd go Carroll there. Is it okay to
Benny's got, if you had to choose one of Dempsey or Sam Darcy, who would you pick? So if it's, how about if it's this week? How about if it's this week? So you've got to make a decision this week.
Jeez.
I'm assuming he's saying that Benny's saying, should I get Dempsey in now or just wait a week and get Darcy? But just in case he is talking about this week, what are you doing there? Because they'll both have a
Darcy.
similar score in their round one system, won't
If you're
they?
going to get in, if you're going to get in the play this week, you can be field them. Sam Darcy against West Coast. We'll all want him in next week as long as he doesn't get injured, basically.
Good point, mate. Yep, good point. All right, so probably going Sam Darcy there. Beggsy, just quick shout out to you, mate, as well. Probably going Carroll. Look, very quickly, we better talk about Sharp here because we've also got legend in Andrew Arakzek. How are you, mate? He's already gone young to Ryan this week, but he's tossing up Carroll and Sharp. We've talked a fair bit about Carroll. What are your thoughts on Jeremy Sharp? Now, if I can just say, if I'm thinking about job security, then I think that Sharp's got the job security over Jack Carroll. If we're talking about role, would we prefer an inside mid-type role where we're getting some CBAs or a wing role? I'm absolutely going for that. I know that it's half forward type CBA role, but I'm probably still going there over a wing. What are your thoughts on Jeremy Sharp? So let's just park him away from Jack Carroll. Let's not compare him for a sec. Let's just talk about him very quickly in isolation and then maybe look to even go a bit of a ranking because there's lots of questions here. Like even the great man Spilsy is talking about Dempsey versus Carroll. There's Dempsey Sharp, Carroll. We do need to quickly talk about Mr. Sharp, mate. So what are your thoughts on him as a selection?
He's not a blunt pick.
I love it. Very clever. Very clever.
he's a good pick. And I think a lot of people may be fortunate enough that they already own Sharp and they are looking to get in Carroll this week. Ideally, your midfield bench could look like Carroll, Sharp, Clark. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
But for those that aren't fortunate, Sharp's a good pick. He's probably not the most inspiring pick because he's just a winger in probably a middle of the pack team. They're probably going to finish 7th to 12th. Really, Fremantle. Now he does play at Optus in 4 of the next 7 games and at the MCG. So that's basically wide grounds in 5 of the next 7. And then 2 Adelaide Oval games. I'm not sure if Adelaide Oval's really the best ground for wingers because it is a bit of a tighter ground, but the other MCG and Optus are really good for wingers. So I just have Carroll but that's assuming he keeps his role. And the other thing I didn't add with Carroll is when Walsh is back, if Carroll has a poor game or two, we're probably a side that has so much competition for jobs. Elijah Hollands as well. Yeah. That he could easily get relegated to the sub. And that would undo a lot of hard work in terms of cash gen that he would have done up to that point if you don't trade him out.
Yep.
And it's just one of those things where it is hard and we got to make the call this week. But I did put out a tweet a couple of weeks ago just saying that to hold your horses until this week so we get more information about Walsh's injury. And I think this is the exact reason why, because you've got to make this judgment call now between sort of the scoring of Carroll or the job security of Sharp. So
awesome, mate.
Yeah, I'll just kick it off here. If I had to go by scoring potential, I'd go Carroll, Dempsey, Sharp. If I had to go by job security, I would go Sharp, Dempsey, Carroll. If I had to go by positional value, I would go positional value being I value a forward rookie more than a midfield rookie because the forward rookie is more likely to be on field given that you already have Roberts, McKercher, Sanders on field. If you needed someone to be on your field week in, week out, I'd go Dempsey, Carroll, Sharp. So those are the 3 criteria there. So we go scoring potential, job security, and then positional value. How do you rank them? Any changes there, mate?
I would pretty much have that 100% spot on. The only one that I may flip is the job security. I may have Dempsey right up there at the top. Yeah, but that's it's a very, very slight and it's a maybe, mate. But
I don't think Dempsey
pretty much agree.
He's a really good player.
Yeah. Just, I think a big part of their future as well. We know they're an aging list, and these are sort of blokes that I think they really need to get experience in. While he's also playing alongside someone like a Tomahawk as well. I think this is the time where you really do want to get games into Dempsey. So I think that we answered most of those questions. I'll just quickly go to ADogs09, new listener, but loved the pod last week. Thank you very much,
mate.
brother. You were Dempsey versus Sharp. Spills. How are we, lads? Wish you could be here. Well, you could be here if you decided, mate. Dempsey versus Carroll. Yeah, we've talked about that. Hopefully enjoy listening through that, mate. Very quick to Ag Dogs as well, whether or not you'd be willing to go early on Whitfield if it got you Powell and you still had 6 playing defenders.
Got you Powell.
So if it got you Powell. So if it allowed you to get Tom Powell, would you be happy to get Whitfield early, knowing that you got 6 players anyway for this week? It's a strange sort of a situation, but
so what does that mean that Zach Williams? But if it's Zach Williams, Blake has Toby Pink as your D4 to 6, I wouldn't be happy. That's the thing. So it's like it really is dependent on
What we'll say, A-Dogs, is that it's we both rate him as a selection this year. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the Lockie Whitfield selection there, mate. Supercoach's life. Now, this is a bit of a different one. Is it okay to skip Carroll Dempsey in favour of going some of these more higher Premos, so your Grundy, Young, Martin, to Sarong, Ryan and Powell? So rather than worrying about getting those early rookies in for that cash gen, is it okay to get rid of some of the mid-price / premiums that we're just not confident on moving forward? And I think lots of people have issues with Grundy, Young and Martin, and we are getting in Sarong and Ryan, 2 of the hottest players in the comp, along with Powell. With Powell as well,
who has a low break even. So he's basically making you the money that a Carroll or a Dempsey would.
Yes, and I'll tell you what, we'll talk about Powell in a little bit because we do have a couple of questions on him. But just generally, mate, do you think it's okay to skip a couple of those rookies and fix up those premiums instead?
We'll talk about it in round 5, but that Grundy move could be a couple of steps ahead of the curve because right now that's the move I'm looking to make, is moving Grundy on, because Heeney looks lights out. Dacos is Dacos. If you held him through that whole time, you're going to have to hold him through the bye because that's the whole point of doing so.
Yep.
If Grundy's the odd one out, if he keeps this up with all the clangers and stuff, he's going to be another one of those nothing picks. And you sort of want him to get into that 100K range with a Marshall, with an English, to just be able to upgrade. And I think Supercoach's life is onto something here. Jackson is going to make so much money that you could almost you're basically doing Grundy to English through Jackson.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I suppose to answer that, mate, we think it's okay. I think it's always good to get a balance. So I'm looking to get a rookie in, get a Premo in, and possibly a mid-pricer that's popping off. But again, team dependent.
You're really Supercoach, like, this is a move that could potentially get you one upgrade ahead of the rest of the comp, because every single week, so when everyone else is trying to trade out Grundy, you're going to have something else to do in that week, which is always normally a good thing, unless Grundy, which we hope right now, DR, don't we? Pops up 140s for us.
Oh, mate, hoping so. Reality, I'm not too sure, but we can dream, can't we, mate? We can dream. At least we're dreaming of Heeney at the moment, which is nice. All right, last one for this slide is my man, Supercoach God. Please make sure you check out this Legends channel. Does some magnificent work over there, does Supercoach God. So shout out to you, mate. Is it worth boosting to get Dempsey, or just skip the golden locks? Personally, I'd be happy to boost to get Dempsey in, mate, if it's part of your plans. Would you have any concerns with boosting to get Dempsey?
Minus 71 break even, good job security, and a good matchup this week. Basically all you want from a rookie. And I think, if you're set on Dempsey being a good pick, get him in. In saying that, I want to keep him a pod.
Yeah, all right. So get Dempsey, but don't tell anyone else about it. All right. We continue on to the next one, and we will start to get through these ones. Supercoach God again. Here we go. Tommy Powell. I had a few questions about Tommy Powell. So I've got the God there. Is he a must-have? Had 93% CBAs, which is outrageous. Absolutely,
Ridiculous.
that is outrageous. Rick, you can average 90 plus. Rich comes in, another legend. G'day, Rich. Is Tom Powell really a must-have? Roscoe, hey, your man from the third man up, our brother Roscoe. Is Fisher and Powell in the same forward line too much north? I don't think you can ever get too much north the way some of these blokes are going, Roscoe. And then we've got Andrew coming back again instead of Harm. So he asked about going the Carroll Sharp before. Should have go Tom Powell instead and ignore the Carroll Sharp rookie cash gen. Quickly on this one, you talked about the fact, mate, that we can almost be treating Tommy Powell like a rookie in some respects because early cash gen is looking fantastic with that in his system. But let's talk about Tommy Powell as a general pick, mate. Are you on the Tommy Powell train? Because I certainly am. I put a tweet out last night. I had about a 45-minute phone call with my man Big J, and he was very big on Tom Powell. I know some other content creators are looking to bring him into the side. So I'm all on board the train at the moment, but very interested to hear your thoughts on the man, mate.
To that tweet, I replied with quite possibly the most catchy advert that I see every day. The Get On Board KO advert. I'm on board, mate.
You did. Yes. You're on board. Good to hear. I'm in good company then. Tell us why, mate.
Tell you what, this kid, he signed a 2-year contract extension today, which I was kind of hoping he wouldn't because it's like, do you have that motivation when you haven't signed a contract?
Yeah, true.
It's the Jake Stringer phenomenon. Wherever Jake Stringer hasn't got a 2-year contract, he always performs well. A contract year Stringer. But he's undeniable. 85% time on ground for 93 CBAs. That means that every CBA that he was on the field for, he was at that CBA.
That's nuts.
Basically.
Yeah.
That's mental.
Nuts.
And it's very clear for all of us to see that they got a very clear 3 big dogs in the midfield. And that's Tom Powell, LDU, George Wardlaw. And then when everything goes amok, they chuck Cam Serra in there to just cause
bit of a wrecking ball. Yeah.
Bit of a wrecking ball. Yeah. You see that it happened in both games. They just chuck Cam Serra. He's got no clue about midfield sort of positioning or anything, but he's just in
crashing
there.
Bodies. Yeah, just hurting people.
But I think Tom Powell, could you say he's a keeper? Does he have keeper potential? If there's no DPP change, because you get Sanders and stuff in, but there's no standout like a Petrarca's just being positioned as a forward solely. Could Tom Powell be a forward keeper?
I think he's got the potential to, mate. And it's all about role. You know, we know he's an early type pick. We know he's had a bit more experience now, stronger in the body. Even when he plays the junior in the Sandful, did really well there. Yeah. He's always been someone that can find the pill and score well. So given the fact that we look at the data now, I think 93% is outrageous there, as God said. So I don't think that's sustainable. But he doesn't need 93%, in my opinion. We look at all the great picks that we had last year, and they were premium picks, I know, but they were the midfielders, weren't they? They were the blokes that actually played through the midfield. And when I look at the forward options that we've got your Heeney, we've got your Flanders, so I think are 2 real standouts that are playing a lot through that midfield. But my next question is, well, who's that next bloke that's getting the CBAs, that's got that type of role that we can select as a forward option? And I can't see too many. And Tom Powell's sitting there with a lovely buy, just at 300K with a low break even. I just think there's too much to like about the pick. Now, hey, could he pump out some 70s, some 80s? Absolutely, he could. But you'd have to think within that role that raises his floor so much. So I like too much about the pick to deny it. And I think, geez, must-haves, it's so strong. I think he is the biggest must-have mid-pricer this week. I'll say that. The biggest must-have mid-pricer.
Over Massimo?
Oh, see, I was viewing him as a rookie. I'm probably going Massimo due to the carnage. because you've just got to fix holes there.
But they're very close. It's like a 1A, 1B as opposed to 1, 2.
Yeah. Look, I'll give you the sneak hint. I'm getting both. So yeah, make that what you will. I'm a Jesse Hogan trader in a
like the Pokinolos dos.
That's it. Exactly right, mate. Exactly right. Getting both in. So yeah, I think we both agree that Tommy Powell's going to be a fantastic pick. Yeah. Rich, why doesn't anyone have Luke Ryan in their teams? I think that is going to change majorly.
2 new owners this week, at least.
At least. That's right. And I think that's going to be just such a really popular trade option this week, mate, is young Atwi's teammate in Ryan. Quickly, how many trades should I aim to have after round 3?
That's
so what are we now? 1, 2.
Next week.
So that'll be after next week.
It's hard. You could have anywhere between, what is it? We started with 40. You could have anywhere between 31 and 34.
Yeah.
I reckon.
Yeah. And depending
but
how
I think most teams, unless you're ranked first and you've got even the team that's ranked first has probably got there through sugar hits. Unless your team is in a perfect shape, you should be using 3 trades this week. I just don't see why you cannot maximize cash gen or scoring on field this week. Even using a trade to get in Tom Green for next week, so you don't need to use a trade next week. Something like along those lines, or just anything.
Yeah. I'm going to say I think the competition on average by round 3 will have 33 trades in the bank.
Yeah.
I reckon you've probably used 1 boost at least, maybe during the first couple of weeks. And then when you got your Darcy types on as well, then you probably need to trade him in. So I'm going to say maybe about a 33 average, mate. Thanks for that, though, Rich. Gone through that. Jack Jones, who goes first out of Wines, and Nick Martin.
We discussed that, I think.
Went through that, didn't we?
Make that call. It's a gut call. Gut call.
Yep, I'd agree with that. Is Fife to Tom Powell worth the trade?
I was looking at bringing Fife in before he got subbed off.
Yeah, well, the only spooky part to that, because we're in this great team chat with a great Damo from the Footy Mailbag. He'd actually spoken to Longmuir, and this was on the card. So he pretty much said, dead set in the chat, boys, he's going to be sub this week. So I pretty much thought that going into the game. It was the slight back issue or back soreness or back tightness, I think was the quote.
Fine.
But come on, I think
he wasn't on the injury report.
Okay, so we're not concerned there. All right, yes or no?
Do you reckon? Do you reckon Fife gets subbed out if they were behind?
No, I don't.
Exactly.
I think this was planned, and if all things are going well, off you come, son. Yeah. But the good thing is, I feel like we've almost got this little rest out of the way now, and I think that he's probably got a good month ahead of him now, at least, playing a full game. So that's just my opinion. I don't
think it's worth the trade.
Not worth it?
Do you reckon it's worth the trade? Fife to Powell?
I'm tempted. I think I'm just
tempted. I'm
starry-eyed on Tom Powell at the moment. But if I think logically at the price, the fact that Fife's got that. Actually, we just talked about the fact that there's not too many blokes with that midfield role. Fife is one of the blokes that actually has that predominant midfield role, and we know that he's a little bit older. So no, I'll go no. Look to do something else. I think get Will Powell in, but hopefully not at the expense of Nat Fife. All right. Next one, mate. We've got some Jacob Sparks. G'day, Jacob. Thinking of trading Young out. Who's a better trade in of his teammates? Oh, using DPP. Jeepers, mate. Where do you go here? Jackson, Sarong, or Ryan? Crikey. Wouldn't you love all 3? This is so hard because it's like, well, what's your forward line looking like? How deep are you in your midfield? Have you got this carnage that we're all facing with these rookies down back? Look, I think if you look for where they're going to average in their line, I think that I would be going with Ryan or Sarong.
Yeah.
Personally. Ryan, for me, finishes at this stage second for defensive averages behind Nick Dacos. Sarong.
Wow.
Really? Is there a world? Is there a world where you think Sarong finishes in the top 4 for average in the midfield?
Top 6, definitely.
top 6. So
Yeah.
we're taking a potential, we're going to say top 6 midfielder. I'm going to say at least top 3 we'll have to give Ryan, because you've got Tommy Stewart there as well. So I'm not going to say definite second. And then you've got Jackson, who is...
But how about this, Dia? I reckon Ryan has more fluctuation to get to a lower price than Sarong does.
Yeah, that's a good point, isn't it?
So I reckon Ryan Ryan will probably end up a top 3 defender. Stewart is the other one there alongside Dacos. But Ryan has equally 90 scores. Like he doesn't normally go below 90, but a couple of 90 scores back to back can get him to the 550. Whereas Sarong does so much around the ground, and that is, even if he's tagged, his floor is just so high. But again, he could also, if he gets tagged like a Finn McGuinness tag, then he's gonna plummet as well. It depends, because if getting Sarong in means that one of, like we were mentioning, your Roberts, McKercher, Sanders, I reckon structure your trade around those 3 being your M6 to M8. Even
Great
Jack Carroll
advice.
this week. If you can have them M5 to M8, because you can trust those 4 rookies this week, I reckon.
I'm absolutely with you.
And then work backwards and see, okay, which is the best player to fit into the other position that I'm leaving behind in my team.
Beautiful, mate. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. But look, short story, Jacob, I like all 3. I don't think you can really go wrong.
They're a good team for Supercoach, aren't they?
Oh, fantastic, mate. Yeah.
Except Hayden Young, which is so ironic, isn't it? We're like, the one Freo player we pick, apart from Nat Fife, and he's the worst of the lot.
Can't believe it's happened, to be honest, mate. But we can't dwell on it. We do need to move on from this man, Hayden Young. Bugger you, Hayden. Next one is from Steve-O Hevo. Oh, I love that. Steve-O Hevo. Good on you, Steve. If Young is traded out, do you downgrade or upgrade? Windhager worth a look? Again, it is so team-dependent, mate. I would prefer to go up. I just think that's a safer move. I wouldn't be going down from a Young to like a Windhager, because there's still so many question marks there. I just want to go safe. Young hasn't worked out. So, okay, let's not just stuff around anymore. Let's just fix him up straight away. And I think the fix is to go up. Any different thoughts there, mate?
I reckon you go Young up to Ryan, Sheasel. Who else we're talking? Ryan, Houston? Young, Stuart, Ryan, Houston, Sheasel, Stewart, or down straight to Massimo, bank the cash and use it to get a big boy next week off the buy Gold Coast GWS.
Fantastic options, mate. They are literally the only options that I'm looking at for myself personally anyway. You could be tempted for a Naz or someone cheaper, or an Elliot Yo if you really want to get risky, but
Yoey.
Oh, the old Yoey, mate. There's just no way. There's just no way I could go there. But anyone that has, good luck to you guys. All right. Next one here is, and Daz, shout out to you, Daz. But I think Young is pretty much a must trade, mate.
Thanks so much for your support as always, Daz, very quickly. Much appreciated.
A legend in my regulars league as well is Daz. Here's the man that recognised you over at Gather Round, mate. It's the big Duke and Duke. You wouldn't be happy with Mr. John Newcomb, would you? Not going well for John.
Might need a rebrand.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, where's he going to go? There's a few nice ones though. Maybe do something with Mass or someone like that, mate. But his question is: field Williams over Howes, right? Is it that simple?
I reckon there's a single letter that can answer this question. That is the E. Put the E on Williams, and I assume that you have one of Gibcus, Reed, Caulfield. They all play after Williams, so just put the E on Williams and see what he scores. And then if you reckon he's going to be in your best 18, put Zach Reed or Gibcus or Caulfield on your field and bench Howes. What do you reckon, Dia?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. That's what I'm doing at the moment anyway. I've got him.
Everyone should be doing that, really. That has 100%. Williams.
Yeah, because most of us are going to have at least one of those rookies, aren't we? So, love that play, mate. Think that's the obvious one there. Next one is from Jimmy Fabes. G'day, Jimmy. Is Paddy Cripsworth look as a trade-in? Only $545K off his buy, and the Blues look like a top team. without an obvious Supercoach star? I'll just give this one straight to you, being a Carlton man. Paddy Cripps at 545k. Is there a world, or not even going to go there?
I reckon Jimmy answered his own question there. Without an obvious Supercoach star, I think that's the way the Carlton team will run this year. Chera will probably go to that 115 range, but I don't think that we will see the heights of a 120 that push in those top 8 mids. From Cripps as well, I just think there's better options, mate. Especially if you just wait a week for your Took, Tom Green, Noah Anderson types, then yeah, it's probably just worth waiting a week. I'll likely hold Young and Bonner, but I'm considering trading C. Williams and P. Cripps. I'm feeling a bit of Carlton bias here, mate.
Yeah. He's a blue boy, I reckon.
I know he's a blue bagger. That's for sure, because we've interacted on Twitter before. But yeah, Zach Williams is a good pick. I reckon bring him in. We had those time on ground issues a couple of weeks ago, but he's just going to be one of those players that is just better off having the buy early. He may freshen up a little bit and be raring to go. So yeah, Zach Williams, good player in. Paddy, if you want to go for it, honestly, Supercoach at the end of the day is just a game. As a blue bag, like I remember a couple of years ago, we were chatting and I was like, every single time, like I didn't want to see Paddy Cripps do poorly and have him in my Supercoach team because it means that Carlton probably loses. But at the same time, when he scores 150 and we win, it's like, oh, I'm missing out. And so I think I've used like 5 trades on Cripps a couple of years ago, if you remember. I'm just trading him in, bringing him back out, trading him back in. It was stupid. But yeah, mate, Jimmy, follow your gut there, mate. Go the Blues.
Good on you, Jimmy. Go Baggers. All right. Next page here. And I think we might have this one, maybe one more to go, mate. We've got Luca. G'day, Luca. Looking to trade in a defender for Young. Who would you bring in out of Stuart, Ryan, or Houston plus or Houston plus 30k? I'm going to say Luke Ryan for me, mate. We've talked a fair bit about these guys. Stuart, Ryan, Houston, if you have to pick one.
If I had to pick one, I would go Luke Ryan. He's got
Luke Ryan. Okay.
He's got a good role. I'm as a Houston owner, I'm happy. But yeah, Kane Farrell, you just don't know because he's such a good kick as well. Like something that all 3 of these guys shares, they're very good users of the ball, and they each have their own sort of point of difference. Ryan is just a kick-in merchant. He just gets all the kick-ins. Stewart's got his intercepts. Houston's got his rebounding and inside 50s. So he really pumps the ball inside 50 a lot compared to the other 2. But I'd probably just go Luke Ryan in that instance. And just on Hayden Young, he's lost on average 25 points in his first 2 games from clangers.
19 in 2 weeks. Yeah. It's
so
nuts. And I've always thought of him as an elite user of the football as well, that left peg, mate. So yeah, not going well, is it? Super surprising with that. But yeah, I think we're both on Ryan there. But hey, all 3 options, I really don't think you can go wrong, Luca. And to bring in Powell, who are we trading out, Martin, Wines, or Bonner? Well, I said I'd trade out Martin over Wines myself. Bonner, I still think Bonner's got the potential to make some more cash. I'm going to say personally, and you may disagree, mate, I'm trading out Martin's. I'm giving him a plural now. Martin first. How about yourself?
Okay. Yeah, I'd. Well, you say Martin first. I reckon Bonner first because
Bonner first. You're just getting out of Dodgeville.
We know Ross as a coach is turnovers. Those turnovers from Bonner could have genuinely lost St Kilda the game. And I know we say that about Martin as well. Wines is probably the last of these. Martin and Bonner. Let's say that Martin and Bonner. If you can get Tom Green next week with one trade, I would trade Martin out this week. That's what the back end says there. Yeah. So Martin first, Bonner, Wines. If you want to get out of Dodgeville with Bonner and you want to give Martin one more chance, than Nick Martin this week. But what I don't understand is if you can trade out Martin this week, I'm assuming that you're going to say that Martin won't reach his break even and you won't have enough cash. Okay. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Nick Martin then.
Agreed, mate. Agreed. On to ladies, man. Corey Blackledge. G'day, Causa. Thoughts on wines to Massimo, Berry, that's Sam to Powell, and Young to Sheasel. Well, tick, tick, tick for me. Or do I go Wines to Steele, Young to Sheasel, and Berry to Carroll? I like option 1 better myself, mate.
I like option 1 as well. Yeah.
Both going option 1 there, Causa.
We've been treating Tom Powell as the cash cow. So it's like Powell versus Carroll, Sheasel versus Sheasel is nothing, and then Massimo versus Steele. So it's Massimo and Powell versus Steele and Carroll. So it really depends what you see Steele as ending up being at the end of the season. Is he going to be a top? Is he going to be a M8? Is he going to be? Oh, it's tough. Massimo and Powell feels like a lot of cash that could possibly be made.
It does to me as well, mate. Yeah, I think, look, probably not as easy as I was originally thinking with that question. But, option 1 for us, Causa. All the best luck, mate. Here's Legend back again. Kata, how are you, Legend? Hey, Janath, and we'll just leave it there, mate, because he decided not to come tonight. Think I'm set, but interested in your vision with these 3 trades. So, number 1, Young to Steele via Dacos DPP. I love that, actually. I'm really big fan of that. Windsor to Darcy early because he feels that Windsor's round 2 score of 40 will hurt his cash gen, and Darcy seriously looks AFL ready. And Grundy to English. I'll tell you what, I would love to get on English this week. I would love to be a Tim English owner. I wonder, so we can't be doing all of this stuff? No, there's a world where he could, isn't there?
He's got the money. I reckon he's got some money back.
Okay.
He has to have money banked,
So we're going out. Young, Windsor, Grundy, in Steele, English, and Darcy.
I ticked that off.
Young. Do you know what? I really like the look of that myself, Janath, because
Young to Steele is the one. It's like, again, it depends how sold you are on Steele. If you think Steele's going to be 115 to 120, by all means. But if Steele ends up being 100 to 110, you're going to be stuck because you're using a trade on Steele with the hope that he is a keep at the end of the day.
Yeah. This is the ultimate sort of sideways trade, isn't it? Although you're using DPP. You hit the nail on the head. I think, Kata, how big are you on Jack Steele? Like, I know for me, after watching that first quarter, I thought the man is back. In saying that, though, I just can't get him in this week. But I love the Grundy to English. I think that's super. And you're going to get such a big boost in points there, mate. Windsor to Darcy. Yeah, I agree with the 40, and I think Darcy's going to be a must-have probably next week. If you're ever going to go early, I think this is one that's okay. And Young to Steele, I'm pretty big on Steele myself, so I don't mind that one, Janath. I don't mind Young to Steele.
Points-wise, these set of trades will net Kata so many points in the upcoming weeks, it won't be funny.
Oh, won't it? Yeah, and just if you look at this week in isolation.
Yeah, gosh. English and Darcy.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Kata, I don't even know why you need to ask us this question, mate, because you nail this stuff every time,
You should be sitting up here, mate, with us.
Do you know what? I need to reach out to Kata. I don't know if he's a podcast sort of a man, but wouldn't that be great to get the great man on for a week representing Supercoach Talk? So I'll send you a DM there, Kata, great man. On to another great man who has been on my channel before. It is Verns. G'day, Verns. How are you, my man, from the Supercoach Hub? G'day, fellas. Love your pod. Keep up the great work. Thank you, my man. Mate, I'm stuck between 2 potential trades. Power to McGovern.
Jeremy.
Vern, you've got some kahunas there, Vernie. So Powell, so he wants the Celtic combo. Powell and McGovern or Dempsey to Ryan. Think Powell could be a low chance keeper, which we agree could be, mate. And hopefully McGovern too.
No,
Oh, mate,
Jeez.
if McGovern plays 12 games this season, I think that's going to be
12.
a win, mate. That might be a stretch.
He's the fittest he's ever been, D. I think you've got to cut him a little bit of slack.
Look, all right. So hopefully McGovern too. So maybe get 2 keepers or none, where Ryan is guaranteed keeper.
I reckon you go the latter, just because I wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to watch West Coast games just in the fear Jeremy comes up with like hamstring or something.
It's almost like that mid-price madness versus Guns and Rookie type trade, isn't it, mate? I couldn't go McGovern, mate. Look, he's looked really good in a couple of weeks. But if you look at history, he does this. He does this a lot. He looked good for 2-3 week period, then have a low game, then he'll get injured. I don't know how many, what's his top games average for a season in the last 4 years, but I don't think it's going to be too high, mate. So due to the fact that, and we look at our back line, mate, we look at all the carnage that we've had so far, I just wouldn't be bringing in any other players in my defensive line apart from Lockie Whitfield, who have durability concerns, mate. So I'm going Dempsey and Ryan.
Yeah. Gub's played more than 11 games in one season since 2019.
Oh, mate, there you go. That's more than enough for me to make the decision to go to Ryan a lot easier. But hey, Verns, love the fact you're looking at the pod, mate. And I know you started off differently with your side, mate. So respect to you, brother. All the best, my man. On to Jono Carroll. Now, Jono, your cousin, playing magnificent football for the Blues at the moment. G'day, lads. Super happy that this podcast is going around again. Thank you very much, mate. Super happy you listening in, as always, Jono. Currently looking at using a boost this week. All good. Young to, you love your Saints boys, don't you, man? And you told me to start Steele. But the issue is, Jono, you've told me to start Steele for the last decade, I think, mate. But this year was the year, mate. Young to Nazaya, Caulfield to Massimo, and Sam Berry to McKercher.
Tick.
Let's do it, Jono.
The last two definitely.
Oh, they stand out so much. I'm guessing that Jono has to go down to Nazaya to probably get that cash from Caulfield to Mass, because you make a little bit with Berry to McKercher. Berry to McKercher is the easiest trade you're ever going to make in your life, Causa. Caulfield to Massimo, again, is the same. Jono. Oh, Jono, sorry. They're like twins, Jono.
They go hand in hand, don't they?
They do, the two legends. Sorry, Jono. Look, if you need to go Young to Nazaya, you're a Saints man. You know a lot about the pick. You're following. Trust your gut on it, Jono, and absolutely lock those in.
You'll enjoy it. He's a good watch, Nazaya.
Oh, absolutely, isn't he?
When he calls for the ball.
Such a talent, man. You got it, mate. You got it. Gun of the competition, mate.
Gun.
On to Brisbane Lions. How are you, legend? Hey, mate. Hopefully we have a magnificent Thursday night and lead into Easter. Young to Massimo, Martin to Sarong, Fisher to Jackson. So I don't see too many players actually trading out. Last week was the week that we traded out Fisher. Too aggressive, or am I justified in getting rid of some of these speculative picks? When I look at the first two, I'm going, I like it. Like it. Fisher.
I don't like it. It's bad. Do you regret trading out Fisher?
Do I regret trading out Fisher? The issue for me, mate, is that at the time, he was the obvious option by the country mile, right? I do regret in the way now that after I've seen him play last week, but at the time, I almost feel like I would have been negligent for not trading him. That's how I feel anyway, mate. But would I love to have him now? Yeah, I would. And people gave him an extra week, and congrats for doing that. Probably the right move. But I needed to make moves early on, mate. I needed to get your McKercher types in. And if you ask me the question, are you disappointed to have McKercher in your side rather than Fisher and have that extra money in your bank? Absolutely not. It's not the way it works out. But if I do look at it that way, no. So you're saying this is too aggressive, mate?
I wouldn't do that last trade. I think the Fisher is good. I don't regret the trade because the forward pressure that Fremantle applied on the North Melbourne halfbacks was negligent at best.
Yeah.
Compared to GWS and compared to what Fisher will face against Carlton this week, which is what I presume that will come out with after the bye, Fisher's going to struggle a little bit this week, I think, compared to last week.
Yeah.
But if Jackson's back, if Darcy's back in 2 to 3 weeks, after his massage and his palm branches.
At the grapes. Don't forget the grapes.
Don't forget the grapes. You've got the cash to go fish at Jackson. I reckon just hold that cash and make a trade for one of the players that come off the bye next week. I think that's a better way to spend the money. What do you reckon?
I actually agree, mate. Yeah, I like the first
Flanders,
2 trades.
maybe?
Young to Massimo. So he's definitely going to have, yeah, absolutely, because you can go Fisher to Jackson as well. Yeah, I wouldn't mind banking that coin. Maybe even look at the first 2, banking that coin, and then it will give you so much freedom the upcoming week. You've got another week's data as well. So first 2, yes. Maybe not the Fisher out, mate. Maybe keep the faith with Fish.
Fisher to Flanders is okay. Flanders 3 straight tons.
Oh, I like that. Mate, I like that because you're getting another week. You're getting another week with Fisher, and hopefully he can make it maybe a little bit of coin there, and then you'll be able to make a really informed decision. Flanders coming off his bye is perfect, mate. Yeah. Rather than going with your Dogga this week.
Yeah.
Love that. Agreed. Love that, mate. Agreed. Definitely an option to look at, mate. Maybe a Fisher to Flanders after the bye. Good on you, buddy. Hopefully that was a little bit of help there, mate. All right, now 2 more slides. We've got these 4, and then another couple of quick ones. So we'll get through this. First one is from Bradley M. G'day, Braddles. Hey, lads, love the pod. Stuck this week. Think of trading Young, Short, and Grundy. Short's been a little bit disappointing, hasn't he? For Luke Ryan, Nazaya, and Powell.
Jackson
must be Dogga. Yep. But this would mean using my second boost. I don't think you should be too concerned about that. I could possibly hold Short for 1 week, or could hold Grundy, but it would mean I can't get Powell. I say go through with this.
Go for it. You're trading out 2 players with buys to come, and Hayden Young for 3 players without a buy that look good.
Yep, fantastic.
And
mate.
Again, you're doing the same thing. When Jackson maxes out in price, you can basically get him to Tim English in 1 trade, you'd think. Or close to. Depends on how big he goes against West Coast this week.
Jeez, it's such a scary unknown, mate. Yeah. A really scary unknown. Like Heeney coming up with his
every Tim English owner should have the captaincy on Tim English this week.
100%.
Like in saying that, he had this exact same matchup last year and he only went 120.
Yeah, well, that's true
and
as well.
Bont was the one that went 160. So.
Yeah, geez.
We'll see.
I like it anyway, Braddles.
Yeah.
I like it
Go
anyway,
for it, Bradley.
Danny, g'day, Danny. Hey, legends. Do I try to fix my back rookies first? I think we probably discussed this. Gipkus, Caulfield, Reed before I start trading out spuds. Gee, unlucky, like me. And if you still got all 3, you have to if you got all 3. Just don't show them what rookies to replace them with, or just go with the spuds. So, yeah, I love that. The spuds. He's been listening to Abs, my man. Abs.
Yeah.
Young, Martin Berry out. Sarong, Powell, D'Ambrosio in. Hoping Powell's a keeper. Or Sarong, Ambro, Nazaya. To answer the question as a general, you've got to fix up one of them. You've got to fix up Gipkus. He's got the most cash. You've got to fix up Gipkus. You have to.
But who would you bring in? Would you almost keep Young in a way?
Jeez, in this position.
Or would you keep Martin? Keep Martin and do Young, Gipkus, Berry and see whatever money you have to play with.
Who am I keeping, Martin or Young? Are we keeping Martin?
I think so.
I think I might. Yeah. I can't believe I'm saying this, mate. Hayden Young was meant to be the golden pick this year in our back line, wasn't he?
Be the Messiah.
He was, but I tell you what, being the opposite of that, I say Martin myself. Yeah. Tough one though, mate, isn't it? Very tough one. All the best luck, Danny. Hope you make the right decision, brother. Jules is back for another quick one. After trades, 650K in the bank.
Oh, jeez.
Hang on. Okay. I told you Jules loves a crazy move. Out is Young, Hogan, and Berry, and in is Mass, McKercher, and Powell.
There's logic. There's
I
logic
think
there.
it's okay with the best 18. Can bring in 2 Premos next week. So if we look at the ins in isolation, Mass, McKercher, Powell, 3 big ticks.
Yeah.
Shit.
He's got if he's got the logic is there. 2 Premos next week. I'm assuming that's like a Tom Green, Flanders, 2 Anderson, Whitfield. You're not Jules is trading out Young and Hogan. He's not trading out.
We're all trading out Young.
Anyway,
do you know what? It's actually a good move, isn't it?
It makes sense because you're bringing in 3 players that will all rise in price this week.
Yeah. So Hogan isn't playing. I don't know what. I'm guessing that could be.
That's going to be Sam, I reckon.
Yeah, because you've got McKercher in there.
Sam Berry.
Thinking Sam Berry.
Jules.
Well, let's be honest. We don't want to be. Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying it.
It's fine. It's okay. Yeah.
What a mastermind this great man is.
It'll be funny when you trade Jai Clark up to Tom Green in one trade.
Won't it? Yeah, a decent little upgrade. Yeah. Oh, look, Jules. The best thing I love about Jules is this is the definition of a bloke that enjoys playing the game. He's not afraid to make a wacky move. And he was actually leading Supercoach for a few rounds a few years ago. Actually had Jules on the channel as well. So love it, mate. All the best, buddy. Make sure you keep those beds warm for us in Adelaide when we come up and visit you next year if you gather around, mate. Thomas, g'day, Thomas. Hey, fellas. Going to use my first boost this week and love your thoughts. Short, I placed a bouncy on his head. Don't blame you. Young, Sexton have to because of DPP issues, so maybe more forced into this one to make the moves. To Ryan, Massimo, and Powell. Gee, these are common names, aren't they, mate, for trade-ins this week? Okay, so Short, Young, Sexton, Ryan, Massimo, Powell. 350 in the bank for upgrades. I say yes. Janath, you say?
Yeah. Take off.
Yes and yes, mate. Good on you, Tomo. All the best, mate. I think, you're in for a good one there. And we're on to our last slide now, mate. A couple of really team-dependent ones here. Our first one is from Abs. G'day, legend. How are you? I've had a lot to do with Abs. Not the Godfather, but another legendary Abs. It must be something about the name, I think. Hey, guys. Hope you're well. And you, buddy. Hate giving a team-specific question. That's, mate, you are such a great supporter of this channel. Anytime, mate. What option do you prefer? Option A, Wines to Steele. Young to Pink and be fielding Howes at D6. And Sexton to Powell. 220K in the bank to target Flanders next week. I love the fact that you are targeting him. I think he's going to be a really good in. Or option B, we're going Young to Luke Ryan, Wines to Powell, and 80K in the bank. So not actually using a boost there. So out goes Wines, Young, Sexton. Option B is just Young and Wines. We talked about the fact that we don't necessarily love Sexton coming out of the side. So it's Ryan and Powell. Powell's in both options. So it's really
Pink and Steele versus Ryan.
I don't actually. Oh, but then you've got the money to target Flanders in the first option as well. Initially, I would be.
I'd go
because look,
B.
he's going Young to Pink, fielding an extra rookie possibly. I'm going option B.
Yeah.
Simply because I'd want to get as many rookies off field.
Yeah.
For me,
I think
just don't
you can still get Flanders next week.
Pink.
Yeah, definitely Pink. Yeah, feels. I just don't know. If you have to field Howes at D6 is okay.
I could live with that so much more. And I know you can't just say this, but if it was Young to Massimo over Pink, I'd be all over that.
100%. And also having to move Sexton on early.
How about just taking out this to target Flanders? Wine, Sexton. Nah, look, I'm going to get too deep into this, and it's Abs. I'll tell you what, man. DM me, mate. DM me, and we'll have a good chat about this one, buddy. But yeah, gut feel
Send your
for me
team
is
through as
probably
well.
option B. Yeah. Sweet. All right, and the last one is from Duke. Duke's back with another one. Hey, fellas, couple of questions.
We're at the end.
What do you think of Marcus Winhager? The great George from FTTV is confident he can go 90 and be a D7 M9. He's got a full CBA role too. Oh,
you are not trading in a D7 M9 at this stage of the season.
Not now, are you? That's surely got to be more of a luxury down the line, doesn't it?
What's going to end up happening is you plan for that. You bring in Windhager now, and then he ends up settled at D6 at the end of the season with the carnage that we get. Yeah.
Oh, look, as a selection, I don't think he's a bad pick. Nice role, as we said, with Crouchy out of the side. Am I confident he can go 90? No, I'm not. I'm not confident he can go 90. People may disagree with that. The role suggested he could. He's more mature type body. Do you see Windhager having the ability to go 90? I suppose what I'm considering in my response as well, mate, is the chance of him losing this role that he's currently in. I don't think we can say at this stage of the year, yep, he's locked into this role. So that's part of my reasoning why I'm not too keen on that 90. He'd have to be playing purely this role to achieve that. Although he has played a bit of halfback, but really with Nazaya, Bonner, and Sinclair, are we really having Windhager down back? Probably not for me. Any thoughts that you can add on Windhager yourself, mate?
Well, Sinclair didn't even get CBAs against Collingwood, so I reckon he gets a couple of CBAs in there. He's a gun, and the number 2 really suits Windy as well. But yeah, I wouldn't be doing it right now. That image that you can't enlarge is Naz plus Steele plus Powell in for Young, Newcomb, and Sexton. I think I'm okay with those trades. Newcomb to Steele does feel very sideways. It could easily flip the other way. Like if Newcomb could have been the one starting with the 120s and Steele could have been the one starting with the 60s. But you just got to make do. Young to Naz, good trade. Sexton up to Powell, happy with it. So in a way, Newcomb to Steele has to be done for the cash. So yeah, I think I'm okay with that.
Yep, me too, mate. Yep. Me too. And Beauty. I'm pretty sure, mate, we have finished our record mailbag. Thanks for all your questions, guys. Much appreciated. Mate, we're 2 hours and 30-something minutes into this podcast. We knew it was going to be epic, but we are getting towards the end now. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
All right.
But how are we going to finish off with,
we got
mate?
There. We got some captains to talk about. So I'm just going to go very quickly into this. Got some captaincy data here. Caleb Sarong, last 2 games, averaged 155.5. He's got the 30 easiest matchup for midfielders against Adelaide. Good matchup. If you own him, probably chuck the VC on him. Dacos as well. We know that he's going to bounce back. We'll see how large his score is, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people put the VC on him. Sack Butters, ridiculous form, 146 in 2 games. Last 3 average at venue is 138, so it's gone 117, 158, 139. But it's not the easiest matchup, but his last game against Melbourne last year in the wet, I think, or possibly the dry, 184 at Adelaide Oval against Melbourne.
Oh, no.
That's where my VC's
I remember
that's
this.
where my VC is going to lie. Yep.
It was in the wet because he was the only player on that ground that looked like he was playing with the dry football. His skills in those conditions were just off the charts, mate. Yeah.
Is he going to be a VC this week?
Locked and loaded. Locked and loaded.
So that makes 2 of
us.
us.
Absolutely locked and loaded. And very quickly on this, I must say, is the fact that you and Roscoe, obviously 2 boys from the third man up, both actually had Zach Butters as your captain last week. So if you want some captaincy data, these are the blokes to speak to here. All right, mate, we just talked about 4 VCs. Onto the captaincy candidates, your top 4.
My top line there, Marcus Bontempelli, last 2 games, 131. Obviously, the sample size is small, but we can't really do anything about it. Last 3 against West Coast, 134 is his average, 162, 96, and 145. And then last 3 at Marvel, this number stood out to me. He's gone 162, 153, 126. He's got the second easiest matchup for midfielders, which is also going to be the same for Libba, but we haven't put him into the captaincy here, but he'll be in our. This is just I've just partitioned a part of our total captain's corner for this Swordplay podcast. You'll see the full one out Wednesday evening, but yeah, I'm going to go Sack Butters into Bont, but some other options: Tim English, Errol Goulden, Isaac Heeney for different reasons. English for the matchup and just because he's English. Goulden, because he loves playing at the MCG, averages 136 in his last 3 games, got the easiest matchup for midfielders against Richmond. And then Isaac Heeney, we just know what ridiculous form he's in. He's probably leading the Brownlow with 9 votes in 3 games. And he's got the third easiest matchup for forwards against Richmond. So I'm going Butters into Bont. DR, you've got other plans?
Absolutely following your lead, mate. If I did own Tim English, I would put it on English, but I don't.
Oh, that's a tough one. Thankfully, we're not in that predicament.
Oh, mate. Yeah, well, look,
both ways. You want to own English,
not a bad second option.
But it's like, imagine having to pick between the two.
Exactly
it's like
right.
Picking your favorite child, DR.
It's Max at the moment. Max, the middle one, because the oldest one going through puberty reckons he's an expert with the world. River at the moment, my goodness, mate. He's the kid that doesn't go around stuff. He goes through stuff. So it's clearly I love Max the most at the moment. Only joking. There's no way that I would ever. My wife kill me if she heard me say that. And so would my boys as well.
But make sure this doesn't get there.
That exactly right. I don't know if my boys at the moment don't have an attention span of 5 minutes rather than 2 hours and 40 odd minutes or up to, mate. So I guarantee even if they start it, they will not make it till the end, mate. But I'm with you there with the captains there. Yeah. Butters into Bont. And yeah, again, guys, make sure that you check out the full table. This is just a quick snippet of the work that Janath and Roscoe put together. You can see it there at @3_man up on X. Be sure to do that. Bookmark it, give it a like, and this will be one of the best tools that you'll have this season when it comes to your captaincy. So elite work from you too, Janath. Very, very well done, mate.
Thank you. Well, we'll lead into our final trades and advice then. So my trades are Hayden Young, Nick Martin at the moment, and Chris Burgess. To Luke Ryan, Jack Carroll, and Tom Powell. So use my first boost. I'll have 237k in the bank at the end of this to target some Giants and Suns next week. My advice is to follow your gut, as DR was mentioning before. Make sure to get your priorities straight. Get those key rookies in first. Then look at fixing up your mid prices, and then go for your luxury trades with your Premos, Uber Premos like your Dawsons and Litters. DR, your proposed trades and your final advice, mate.
Yeah, great advice from you, mate. So 3 trades I'm looking at the moment, and they have changed since my round review. So out for me is Hayden Young, Nick Caulfield, and Jesse Hogan. Ins, Luke Ryan, Massimo, and Mr. Tom Powell. I think even looking at some of those questions, are these good trading options? I think that a lot of the crowd may be doing something very similar to what I'm doing anyway this week, mate. And look, in regards to, I suppose, advice, as you said, mate, follow your gut. Use your own eye test when you're making these decisions. Don't just go with the group hype or the group think here. Don't panic. There's a lot to play out. It's a very long season. We're only a couple of games in, 24 rounds. So if you're not having the best start, plenty of time to catch up. And we have had this question already a couple of times, but don't be afraid to boost early. The boosts are there to be used for a reason. And if you feel the most beneficial way at this stage is to fix up a few holes using those, then absolutely go for it. Don't worry too much. You just want to try to fix up your team so you've got a really good starting base. And then you might be able to save a trade or two in the coming weeks if you can. So that's my final advice, mate. Enjoy the game. And, good luck to everyone this week. I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of hindsight. I was so close to choosing Carroll over Sharp and Dempsey over someone else. There's going to be so much of that. Oh, geez, I was going to trade out Nick Martin, but I traded out Wines, and Martin has worked out how to use a football and scored 130. Don't worry about that. You know, it's we can't make all the right decisions, but hopefully we get more right than we get wrong. So, yeah, mate, it was a bit of an epic one. I reckon this was a record for how long we've been recording for, 2 hours and 45, as well as that mailbag, 40-odd questions. Don't you just love this support, mate? Absolutely phenomenal. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate it.
Please drop likes, follows, subscribers. We did this all in one take, so everything you're seeing here is completely uncuffed. It's late, but we got there. We answered all your questions. DR has the hard job of probably putting timestamps in, so you guys don't have to listen to us talking for 2.5 hours. But we got there. So thank you all for your support. You'll see DR's lovely face next week. I'll be back in a couple of weeks. Spills will be back next week. We can't let him go on a date every single bloody Tuesday. That's not quite right.
Mate. Absolutely not, mate. I'll block that. I'll block him from falling in love. How dare he? Jesus.
He's taken the I Dream of Heeney potion too literally.
That's yes. Been drinking from that egg, mate.
But yes, good luck with all your trades this week. Stay tuned for the full Captain's Corner to come out on at @3rd_man up. We'll have everything that you need. So yeah, make sure to follow your gut. That's the main thing. Dia and I have been talking, and we've just given our opinions. It may not all be right. We just try to give informed advice based on what we have available to us and what our sort of knowledge and sort of assistance really can do to go a long way in helping you guys with your decisions. So next week, stay tuned for the Gather Round edition of the Supercoach Swordplay podcast.
Exciting. I reckon we might have a special guest on next week.
Yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Have a good one. Stay safe and have a good Easter break, everyone. Peace out.
Thanks, guys. Bye.